Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, September 27th. It's about 7:30 p.m. and we are here in Town Hall in room 206. Tonight, we mostly have a planning and zoning public hearing. At the end, it's a little, there's a short general meeting to clean up anything that comes up necessary. I like these nights because it's all new applications and you guys get to show us your stuff and we move on to the next one. So, getting right into it, the first one on the agenda is continuation of public hearing regarding coastal site plan review number 29A an Apple, flood stem prevention application number 23A, Daniel and Hildi Maclean at 25 Contentment Island. I'm not going to read the rest of it because we opened the public hearing on July 26th and I've been here a couple times. So what do we got, Jeremy? What's the update on this one?
Revised plans have been submitted from the applicant addressing some of the issues. This includes a cover letter from the applicant outlining the proposed, I'll call it chipping. They're not going to do any blasting. They're going to do 2 weeks of chipping to get in, and we're talking about the new entrance drive, which would get you to the new front door. If you've been out to the site, there's really no front entrance per se. So part of this project, which is the reason the hearing was continued, was to allow the applicant to show you the designs for the, I'll call it the landward side of the house, grading, drainage, cutting, filling, and as I said, chipping. So Rizzoli Engineering is here with the revised plans to give you a quick presentation showing where some of the chipping is going to occur, some of the grading. Again, this is landward of the house, so it really doesn't have coastal impacts. And I think very little of this work is in the flood zone. You may recall there's a new septic system as part of this project as well.
Welcome. I think this is your third night of hearing. So at the end of this, we'll just go over Rich. This is Rich's memo, right? Or this is Darren's new memo at the end. So I'm going to go over this at the end.
Okay, Darren Ostafine submitted an original review of the application on 7/18, July 18th. The applicant responded to that. He reviewed the plans a second time on September 2nd, and you'll recall that the commission received those revised plans the night of the hearing. So Mr. Ostafine didn't have the opportunity to review the plans. Mr. Ostafine submitted his third review on September 13th, essentially signing off on those revised plans that you reviewed at your last meeting. And the commission, of course, on that night asked for some clarifications, as Jeremy mentioned, on chipping and grading, as well as the commission was looking for some additional information on the proposed septic system for the site as well. Since that time, the Darien Health Department has issued their approval regarding the septic system, and also, as Jeremy has mentioned, they submitted some additional, or Rizzoli submitted some additional information on the details regarding the chipping and truck traffic as a result of the grading that's going on there. So, why don't you take it away, John?
Good evening, I'm John Giancola. I'm a professional engineer and land surveyor with Rizzoli Engineering.
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
How do you turn it on?
Just spell the last name. That's for her recording. Just you can
Good.
tell. You can
John.
just tell her. You're good.
You're good.
You're
Spell her
you're
last name.
absolutely fine.
You got
Is
it.
that okay there?
You're absolutely perfect.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Well, as we just said, everything has been signed off on engineering, health signed off on it. I think our letter explaining the rock is pretty obvious. None of the rock has been removed from the site yet. It's still standing there. We're waiting for this approval before we do any further construction. I have nothing else to add to it, except if there are any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Okay. With regards to Darren's letter, are these other items found? Do we have the stormwater maintenance plan?
Yes, everything has been provided by the applicant.
And then the need test results for the soil test.
That has been provided as well, yes.
I don't know
Just for, go ahead, Steve.
if, this to me was hard to read. Maybe it's because it's small size and there's a million lines going on, but is that the same thing, Sir Warren Design not found, partially found, difficult to read? Here's number 10.
I think all the members got enlarged plans of the shear 3 and 4, which were the site plan and the erosion control. The rest of them, we thought perhaps, and I discussed this with Fred before we made the submittal, would be 11 by 17s, because it was just detailed.
No, it's easier for me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
We don't need big ones.
The memo that you have in your packets with the red highlighting after Darren's comments is an older memo that was responded to by the applicant. You reviewed those revised plans at the last hearing on this.
Right, you
which
sent
was
us an email on that
September
today.
6th.
Yep.
And Mr. Ostafine submitted an email
September
dated
13th.
September 13th,
Yeah.
which you should have in your packets as well. And he reviews comments 6, 9, 10, and 11, noting that those issues have been sufficiently addressed by the applicant, and he issues a positive endorsement of the plans and stormwater report.
Okay, great. Any questions? Adam, Mike, George? Amy, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Would anybody in the public like to speak to this application? I don't really know if you have any neighbors, because it's the end of an island, but with that said, I would entertain a motion to close. Adam, looking for a second? Amy, all in favor?
Hearing's closed.
Hearing's
Thank you.
closed.
Commission will deliberate and decide it within a month or so.
Need an extra copy of the plan?
We'll take it, thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda is flood damage prevention application number 434, land filling and regrading application number 533, Lucas and, I'm gonna butcher that one, Briony Raymond at 178 Nearwater Lane. Proposal to raise the existing residence and construct a new 3-bedroom, single-family dwelling in the same general location. Construction of a new driveway and terrace, and perform related site development activities within regulated area, including minor regrading of the property and installation of a stormwater management. The 0.19 plus or minus acres subject property is located on the east side of Nearwater Lane, approximately 80 feet south of its intersection of Shipway Road, and is shown as Assessor's Map number 55 as Lot 2 in the Noroton Bay District Residential Zone. So this is a house that's gonna get torn down in the bay. What do we got, guys?
Yes, this is an existing residence that does not comply with the flood regulations, and the new replacement house will comply in every way. It's gonna be at first floor elevation 16, which is at least a foot above the base flood. The air conditioning units and mechanicals will be at least a foot above the base flood. The new house will comply with all the applicable setbacks. There's gonna be a new drainage system installed as part of this as well. So we have referred this out, and Darren Ostafine's looked at this one as well, and he has signed off on it in terms of his comments. Our staff person, Rick Talamelli, is comfortable with it. Chad Naring, architect, is here. Talk to you a little bit about some of the details of the plans and how they've complied with the comments of Darren and Rick.
Okay, and this is, on this letter, it just says 417 Bay, what's the typo, right? Said it represents 17 Bay Ward?
Yes.
Okay, welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Chad Nearing, and I'm the architect for Luke and Briony Raymond.
Could you spell your last name for me, please?
Nearing, N-E-H-R-I-N-G.
Thank you.
You're welcome. 178 Nearwater Lane is located in the Noroton Bay district of Darien. The site is approximately 500 feet to the northeast of the Long Island Sound. Noroton Bay is a neighborhood of single-family residents and also home of the Noroton Yacht Club. The proposed project will not be disturbing native vegetative buffers or coastal resources. All construction activities will be well monitored. Erosion and sediment controls will be installed per the details provided by Artel Engineering and maintained throughout the construction. The existing structure exists as a single-family residence with a finished first floor elevation of approximately 12. And it was built in 1952 with a lot size of 8,400 square feet. We'll be removing that entire residence, and our proposed residence will conform with all FEMA regulations in Section 820 of the Town of Darien zoning regulations, flood damage prevention regulation, and have a finished floor elevation of 16.0. There will be approximately 2,808 square feet of living space and 915 square feet of entry stairs, terraces, and roof decks. Egress stairs will be constructed on the front and the rear of the home, and a mechanical platform will be constructed at the rear of the home and located above elevation 16.0. Will meet all zoning requirements. The proposed structure will be engineered to meet or exceed all local, state, FEMA building regulations, and once again, Section 820 of the Darien zoning regulations. The proposed foundation technique is to use a reinforced concrete footings and a reinforced concrete foundation wall system. Crawl space will be located under the main living area of the house, and the new slab will have elevation of 8.0, which will then be pitched to all the smart vents, the flood openings. This technique allows for stormwaters to enter the crawl space and garage during a storm surge and then recede as the storm ends. Finished first floor will be set at 16. All mechanicals be located at least at 16. And the floor joists will be anchored to the foundation walls to prevent flotation, collapse, or lateral movement. The structure's walls, stairs to grade, windows, doors, roof structure, mechanicals, and all components of the structure will be designed to meet or exceed all local, state, and FEMA regulations of the AE14 flood hazard zone. Pre-construction flood certificate has been prepared and submitted by the Archer Engineering Company. All mechanicals for the structure will be set at 16, and we'll also have a buried propane tank towards the north side of the property, and that will be anchored to a concrete slab to prevent uplift. Changes in existing grades will not be greater than the allowable 1 foot provided by the Darien regulations, and we're importing approximately 65 yards of fill. Stormwater management has been designed by Artel Engineering. This design includes a drainage plan details, and a drainage analysis. The project will have all roof and driveways connected to 189 linear feet of Contentment 100 XL HD stormwater chambers. A drainage maintenance plan will also be submitted with the drainage calculations and be filed with the town. Silt fencing and erosion control methods will be installed and maintained throughout the construction process to contain any disturbances. Our proposed building coverage will be 19.74, which is 1,658 square feet, which is a reduction from the existing 20.08%. Which is a reduction of about 87 square feet. So our proposed house is actually less coverage than what is currently there. Project commencement is to begin after the issuance of the building permit, where excavation and site disturbances will occur. Silt fencing and erosion control methods will be installed and maintained throughout the construction process. It's understood that all construction activities are to occur on site. Work or parking is to occur on site as not to hinder traffic. And if this is not achievable, carpooling and usage of commuter lots will be implemented. And that's a little synopsis on what we're up to here at 178 Nearwater.
Fantastic. Do you mind going over this for us? Because
absolutely.
we didn't get that in our packet. I didn't get that. Do you guys get it?
That's the existing conditions, right?
Yep, so this is the existing survey prepared by William Seymour.
Okay.
So this is the existing house. There's the existing stairs up to front deck. The existing residence, all that will be removed. There's also an existing shed in the rear yard, and that will also be removed. We have a tree in the front and a tree in the rear. They'll both be preserved. This is our proposed survey by William Seymour. Our driveway comes in off of Nearwater. We have a garage door straight ahead. We have a little turnaround in the driveway, stairs up to the front porch and entry. Back of the house has a terrace, stair back down to the grade, and the elevated mechanical pad on the side.
In the zoning text box in the upper left, that's all filled in, right?
Correct.
That's what I was looking for.
Yep, so that's right there, which should be on your, that should be in your packet.
The proposed conditions?
Yeah.
Yeah, those were,
Yeah, it's, how many minutes?
those were the first,
Right here. Second page.
No,
Nope.
I don't have that
Yeah.
on my side.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't get that. That's okay. As long as you have it, that's
Yeah.
fine, and as long as the box
Yeah.
matches up.
yeah, so maybe what happened was the original submission was done in early August, and then last week we had some comments, so we addressed all the comments and resubmitted. So I'm not sure how they blended the drawings after they got filed.
Okay.
Yeah, that could be the issue.
As long as we have it,
Yep.
that's, because that's the first thing I looked for, that's the
Yeah.
first thing I looked for, it's not there.
Yep, fully zoning compliant though, building height, coverage, setbacks.
Yeah, be-
Should be in pretty good shape.
because on the elevations, just that neighborhood is sensitive to height.
Yeah.
It certainly is.
And I want to make sure we go over this page, which is A7. If you have a batting rule you want to go through, that's fine, but I want to make sure we jump on that too. Bingo.
Yep, so that's our elevations there.
Yep,
So as we're looking at the bottom left is our front elevation.
so I'm standing on the beach, right?
You're standing in Nearwater. Yep, so the actual sewage treatment plant would be behind you.
Great,
So this would be looking right at the house. Garage door is on the bottom right. The stair up to the front entry is on the left-hand side. We have a large glass wall that has a entry door into the crawl space, and then 2 stories of glass, and then a dormer that is then more glass into the attic space. To the right of that is a roof deck. Underneath that roof deck is the master suite with a roof deck again. Below that is the family room and dining room, which has a small deck off of that also.
do you have 3 decks? That's why I said it overlooks the beach, not the suit.
Yep, so that section of the house is our best view, and that is looking right down towards Noroton Bay Beach. And the concept, we flew some drones at the very beginning, and from the roof deck, the intent is that we're actually, should be able to see the sound and hopefully some nice sunsets and things like that, so.
Good idea.
So we've tried to really push the glass on the front of the house. The other 3 sides have much less glass and ensure the privacy of the neighbors that way.
Okay. And on the left, it has the maximum height, I can't read that, it's 30, it's not 33?
Yep, so 30 foot is our maximum height, and we are 4 inches below that.
And that's measured from current grade?
That's from our existing 8.0, and that goes up to the midpoint of the highest gable.
And if I'm correct, the property behind this one is elevated, has elevated terracing around their house.
Is that the Franchetti's?
I don't know the name offhand, but it's a newer construction,
On
it's taupe.
the front of the house has some
Yeah.
terraces?
Yeah.
That's the new one. I can't, my eyes are shut.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure that the calculations were done at current grade, and there's no plans to do terracing to elevate grade immediately around the property?
No, we're
around the
doing
structure?
some slight manipulation to the earth. There are some low spots right now where the Raymonds do experience some pooling of the water
Okay.
between the stormwater management with the Coltex, and also some regrading that is really just directly related to the new house construction. We're hoping to alleviate all that, and Artel Engineering has calculated all the stormwater that way. So we're trying to be very cognizant of the stormwater and also the heights.
One thing I did notice with regards to Darren's letter is that a fresh meadow approach was not taken. in the calculations of the stormwater changes? Was that something that he was highlighting as a concern?
Did you guys
Michelle
waive it?
McCauley with Artel Engineering.
I'm sorry?
Michelle McCauley,
Can we request it?
MICOLI.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I had spoken to Darren and Rick, and I did revise it to change it to the fresh meadow approach.
Okay,
So the stormwater that is before you has been updated to reflect that,
okay,
and he signed off on that.
okay.
Yes, Mr. Ostafan reviewed that revised plan and issued a positive endorsement that came through this past Friday and was
Okay.
emailed to you this afternoon
Okay.
as part of
Alright,
the
yeah.
electronic package.
Okay, oh, okay, thank you.
Yes.
Is that the one that was all official from the, like, webpage? It came through to me as,
As a link to,
Yeah.
to email, yeah,
Yeah,
I think
I
that's
I
what
wrote that in my
was.
notes.
And if
Thank
you
you.
follow that
Yep.
chain of emails
Yep.
down, you can
Thank you.
find his endorsement.
okay. Just going back to the height again, I'll make sure, right, because I can see it, but I want everyone else to make sure you can read it. The maximum height from ground to roof is, what's it, 33 feet, 3.5 inches? That one, yeah.
Nope, we're 30 feet is our building height, and so.
No, the one to the left of that.
Yep, so that, the one to the left of that is to our absolute ridge
Yep.
height.
And that is how
And
much?
that's 35.5.
Okay,
And that's not how we define
Understood.
building height in town, but that is an important number.
Yep.
And it's fascinating how we can sort of design these buildings, and ridge height is one piece of the puzzle, but to conform with building regulations, zoning regulations, it's the midpoint, so.
it's correct, so that's, its maximum height is 30 feet, which is the next one over.
Correct.
Okay, so from street to peak, it's 35,
Yep,
but the way we
Yep.
measure, it's 30, which is compliant. Okay. Okay, anything, are you putting a curb along the street for stormwater measure, or is there no curb on that side of the street? Along the front lawn?
I don't recall a curb. I'm actually trying to think through most of the neighborhood, because I've worked on quite a few of the homes
Not
in
many of
the
them have.
neighborhood, and they
Okay.
don't have one currently, and we're not proposing one.
Okay.
I don't think there's one currently, I should
Yeah.
say.
Sure, that's my bike, okay. Questions from this side? Good. Anything else, Amy?
No comments from the neighbors?
No, we haven't gotten there
I
yet.
spoke with Susan Gary on Thursday. She's known my client since he was young, and she could not have said any nicer things about the
I think that's
family. And
premature.
I also spoke with Peter Franchetti, who is their rear yard neighbor, and he was very positive about everything, and pretty excited about construction happening. Well, not the actual construction itself, but to have a new house.
Everybody's excited about that.
Oh, yeah, it's been.
That's after Sandy came through the bay, that was,
Yeah.
everybody got a little tired of construction.
Then the last time, just relative to lot coverage, the terraces, are those included in your calculations?
The terraces are, and so we've used the regulations. Any of the stairs that are less than 4 feet above grade do not count, so we're not counting those. I've worked hand in hand with Mark Lebo from William Seymour, and everything's very accurate that way. We are on a small lot, but we have actually managed to come down a little bit on
No, you
coverage.
did, thank you. Any questions from you guys before you go? Did anyone in the general public like to speak to this application? Okay, seeing none, anything before we close? All set,
Thank you
right?
very much. Really appreciate
Looking
it.
for a motion to close? Ms. Terry? Amy makes a motion, look for a second. George, in the game, all in favor?
Hearing's closed, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
Yep.
These are always good when you take something that's got no stormwater management to something that does this stormwater. Okay, and then I bring it 65, shoots at 30. All right. Next item up for bid. We have a Yankee game tonight, that's probably the second inning. Land Filling Regrading Application number 535, Great Hill 24 LLC, 24 Great Hill Road. Proposal to construct a new addition to the east side of a residence, reconfigure the driveway, and construct retaining walls, new steps, a walkway at the front side of the house, and perform related site development activities, including regrading of the property and installation of a stormwater management. The 0.4 plus minus acre subject property is located on the south side of Great Hill Road, approximately 680 feet northeast of its intersection with Tokeneke Road, and is shown as Assessor's map number 36 as lot number 12 in the R1 zone. Jeremy, Fred, what do we got?
Yeah, so this is a small cape, exists on the property now. The applicant proposes to put a fairly large addition, which more than doubles the size of the house. They're also going up on the existing residence. This is a land filling regrading application, so it's been designed in conformance with section 850 of the regulations. The application was reviewed by Darren Ostafine of Department of Public Works on 9/23. Mr. Ostafine positively endorsed the project. Somewhat of a unique site with a little bit of history with respect to flooding concerns to the properties to the west and south. And you'll note that we emailed out some comments from the neighbor to the west of the property, 26 Great Hill Road.
Is that Charles Post?
That's
Yes.
Charles Post. Harry Rocheville, McCord Engineering, the applicant's representative, responded to those comments. We also sent those out to the commission this morning as well. And then Mr. Post again responded to those comments this afternoon. Some stormwater management is proposed for the site. The roof and roof leaders are connected to new recharger units in the front yard. The applicant is proposing a new driveway on the eastern portion of the site and retaining wall in that area as well. Quite a bit of fill is going to be brought in to create a fill platform for that new addition. And the existing driveway on the west side of the site is now an asphalt paved driveway. They propose to demo that and replace it with a pea stone, what they call walking path, but looks like you could fit a car in there as well. And then they're removing some of the impervious surface on the west side of that site as well to, in an effort to reduce stormwater runoff to the west and create a more grassy area. Harry Rocheville is here from McCord Engineering, who can provide a little bit more of a summary on this.
Okay, real quick, this is a non-conforming lot, 1.5 acre zone, and it's 0.4.
Yes.
So does ZBA look at this one?
No, because they're not building a new house or anything, it's just an addition to an existing residence.
Okay.
So the addition conforms with all the regulations in terms of setbacks and height. As Fred said, they're only here for a regrading permit because of
Okay.
the location and amount of regrading.
But as a threshold, can we get the zoning text box put on these plans?
On the proposed conditions, sure.
There's nothing on Seymour's plan, on McCord's plan, and then on Seymour's plan, there's nothing on there either. There's no zoning box. I mean, I know they're not going into the setbacks, you can see on McCord's plans, 40 foot in the front, 15 on the sides, and 25 in the rear, but it's not on the plans. Okay. Welcome, sir.
Evening.
Harry's in the house.
Thank you, Chairman. Evening, Commissioners. I'd just like to clear two things up that were mentioned while I listened. We did submit a proposed plan from Seymour, and that was uploaded online. Everything conformed.
Okay.
You may not have it in your packets, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
This is the existing conditions.
Yeah, we submitted both.
Did you?
Yeah.
Okay,
The proposed conditions plan was completed after the submission.
okay.
And then the second thing, it's actually a cut wall on the east side of the property, not a fill, but I'll get to that as I walk through the whole property. Right now, you're looking at the existing conditions. Introduce myself, Harry Roachville, professional engineer, state of Connecticut, with McCord Engineering, representing the applicants. Property you're looking at is 24 Great Hill Road, located on the south side of Great Hill Road. It's a 0.4 acre lot, currently developed with a single-family residence. Asphalt driveway here that leads to a rear garage that's at a lower level than the first floor. There's also a deck here and a flat stone patio in the back. You see retaining walls line the property here. This is higher than this point of the property. The whole lot drains east to west. It's currently served by municipal sewer and water. Currently no drainage measures on the site. Roof leaders drain to grade. Driveway's not captured, no curbs, so everything does drain west following the topography. Same thing with the patio drain. There is an existing trench drain there. Happens to outlet through the retaining wall here, spills over onto the driveway and follows the topography with the rest of the lot. Same thing with lawn, no yard drains present.
So it all goes into 26 Great Island, which
It all
Mr.
goes
Post.
west, yep.
Got it. He's gonna be happy you're putting in Caltex.
Now we'll flip to the proposed conditions. As Fred mentioned, proposal is essentially to install a new addition. That addition will have a new driveway. The existing driveway will be closed off. It is over here. New driveway will be installed to facilitate access to that garage. Retaining wall is required to build the driveway and the addition, as the existing grade is about 3 feet higher than the garage floor will be, and the associated driveway will be at that same level. The existing driveway will be partially removed. You'll see the green line here. This is all these sections will be removed. They will maintain this lower level driveway here. It will be resurfaced with gravel just to provide access to that lower portion of the site. They plan to have some gardening in the back, just so they can get landscaping equipment, things of that nature, and they're parked there temporarily while they're doing their landscaping work on that side of the property, as there are these existing retaining walls that sort of separate the east and west portion of the property.
So just, I don't mean to interrupt, but I am going to.
Go ahead.
So the new garage is the first floor of the new addition?
Correct.
And so the garage that's underneath the house now on the west side is going away?
Yes.
Got it.
Where was I? The existing deck and patio will be removed, and it'll be replaced with a new bluestone patio shown here in the purple hatch. These stairs will remain the same. A small retaining wall will be installed here, upgrading of the existing retaining wall just to support that patio, as there is a deck there right now that is on sonotubes. Let's see here. Propane tank and generator are shown for emergencies. 500-gallon underground propane tank here, set a minimum 10 feet off the property line for NFPA code. Generator in the back portion of the property here, that is also within the building setbacks. Erosion controls in the form of silt fence will be installed during construction until permanent vegetation is restored. Silt fence is shown here in the orange line, protecting the property to the west, downgrading of property. We also have silt fence around the stockpile area for a second measure of protection. And again, up here on this upper level lawn, we have silt fence here to prevent it from spilling over onto Great Hill. For stormwater management, we're proposing a system in the front yard, shown in the blue color here. What will be conveyed to this system is roof leaders from a majority of the portion in the house. I believe it's about 75%. Essentially the front roof, the entire addition, and then the back portion here will discharge to the lower level, so we're not able to convey that to the system. That'll be stored in a rain barrel that'll be used for the irrigation in that backyard. So essentially conforming to the existing condition there, where it discharges to grade.
That's the proposed rain barrel at downspout?
Correct.
Got it.
Yep. We used a fresh meadow approach for our drainage calculations per Darien's stormwater regulations, so we did not take credit for any of the driveway to be removed or resurfaced. That was the existing conditions, analyzed that as if it were a meadow surface, so not asphalt. So there's a savings there that isn't included in our analysis. We'll also have a driveway drain here that'll capture the entire driveway and road into that same detention system.
That's a driveway drain on the left side of the driveway or the west side of the driveway?
Yep, the lower side of the driveway, correct.
Yep.
That drain will have a 2-foot sump and sediment hood to contain coarse particles as recommended by DPW. We performed a deep percolation test in the area of this detention system to a depth of the bottom of the detention system. We confirmed suitable soils. We had a 1-inch in 10-minute percolation rate, fast draining soils. So that was also incorporated into our analysis. I know I understand Darren had a comment that he was requesting a deep test. I'm sure, as you know, site contractors are swamps. We haven't been able to get a machine on site. We have one coming next week. We'd be pleased to do that as a condition of approval if the commission sees fit.
We do that, yeah. We don't want to be able to close the hearing tonight, okay, guys? Okay?
Okay, continuing on. Detention system is designed to overflow from a grade at the surface. It'll follow the topography down here, essentially to Great Hill Road. You see it has perpendicular to the topo lines. You have a 66.5 spot elevation here, 65.8. So it will go diagonally and get in the gutter system of Great Hill. The detention system, also as part of our calculations, that overflow grate will not see any runoff until a 25-year storm. The 2, 5, and 10 will all be infiltrated. And we did our calculations up to a 50-year storm. So no increase in runoff from a 2 to a 50-year storm per Darien regulations. The system is sized to be 6 units of 24 by 48 concrete galleries, surrounded by crushed stone, storage capacity of approximately 430 cubic feet. Our drainage analysis, as our stormwater report mentioned, confirms there's no increase in runoff from any of the stormwater events from any of the storm events to a 50-year storm, as compared to the existing conditions. The reason that we're actually here for the permit is for the land filling, excavation, and removal within the 15 feet of the property line, and that the volume is over 50 yards. As you mentioned, it's a smaller lot. The setback is 15 feet. There's no way we can avoid any earthwork in that setback to build the driveway or addition. It just has to happen. So to be able to provide access around the side of the house here, we are proposing retaining wall, so they can maintain the lawn on the side and in the back, and also just be able to access their backyard from their driveway as opposed to having to walk all around the remodeled house. It's approximately 100 yards of cut for this retaining wall. The average cut is about 2 feet. The wall at the tallest point is 3 feet. Excavated soil will be stockpiled in the back here. Since there's really no fill on the property, it will be hauled away as soon as possible during construction. Several trees will need to be removed along the eastern property line here, as the root systems are impacted by the addition and the cutting. The homeowner has confirmed that she will restore that buffer with a row of arborvitaes in that area to recreate the existing screening.
Where's that? That's on the,
We don't have the
Southwestern.
arborvitae shown on our plan, but she did confirm she will plant the road there, and that can be written in as a condition as well.
so it's in the southern half of the lot,
The eastern,
southeastern half?
yeah.
Okay.
Proposed earthwork does not change any of the drainage patterns, will have no adverse impacts on adjacent properties. We're also aware there's been over the past few days, there's been a lot of talk about the history of drainage conditions in this area. Our office is very familiar with these concerns. We were actually hired back in 2005-06 range by the past homeowners at 204 Tokeneke Road to analyze why they had an increase in runoff at that time. At the time, 26 Great Hill Road was under construction, which led to the increase in drainage. What happened at that time was 26 Great Hill Road past owners enlarged their driveway, installed a deck, and brought in a significant amount of fill to the backyard, essentially a 6-foot fill that sloped off to a retaining wall. As part of that filling, well, as a result of that filling, I should say, A swale was created that intercepted the pre-existing drainage conditions. Previously, all the runoff came down sheet flowing west. Now it gets concentrated on 26 Great Hill Road as a result of that fill. Also, when that filling happened, the lot was clear cut. There was about 10 significant trees removed, ranging from 24 to 36 inches in diameter. And essentially, that was the conclusion of the report as to why the increase in runoff had happened. In addition to a bunch of other things. I haven't had enough time to review the entire folder, but those were the main points. So I just want to reiterate, it's our professional opinion that the proposed development at 24 Great Hill Road is improving the existing conditions. The amount of runoff leaving our property will have no adverse impact to the existing drainage conditions. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you or any others may have.
The one item is, the rock wall, the stone wall that's on the west side of the property, that's not being touched at all, right?
Correct.
Okay, and that,
Yeah, no grade is changing on this side of the property. Essentially, just the asphalt driveway is being removed or resurfaced.
so you're taking out the asphalt and putting in crushed stone or something like that?
Taking out the asphalt and crushed stone in this portion.
Right,
In this portion where you don't see the new walkway, it's all gonna be topsoil and seeded or landscaped.
okay. So that's where the impervious surface goes down?
Yeah, our client's a gardener and she wants to use that area.
Cool. Because the water that's going on the road, it gets blocked by that rock wall today, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's a sort of a high point in this area, so all the runoff on Great Hill stays on Great Hill.
Okay.
But you're right, the driveway comes down to the west, east to west, and hits that swale.
Okay. Questions? Anybody? Go right ahead, sir.
So you said that the runoff goes to the west and south?
Generally to the west. It does start to, at the bottom of the property, it does start to turn south a little bit, but generally the runoff of the neighborhood is west and then south. It
Okay.
sort of comes around like this. We don't have the topo extending off of our property, but that's how it works.
Okay, and is that silt fence sufficient to capture any debris that would be headed towards that south corner?
Yeah, absolutely, especially since there's not too much earth disturbance going on in that area.
Okay. And then the rain barrel, what's the volume capacity of that rain barrel?
We haven't sized it, to be honest. It's not included in our drainage calculations. We model that as if it's going to daylight, so it'll only help the drainage conditions, but we haven't particularly sized it yet.
Okay, so Jeremy, this I guess would be a question for you. What is our standard of review here for, I mean, obviously the existing conditions based on some of the memos we've seen are unacceptable at the site. Obviously they're doing some improvement, but are they required to fix all of it, or is some of it enough? And can they maintain that sort of flowing off onto neighbors' properties?
Right, the standard is, basically, you address I call it the modeling. As Carrie said, you measure the storms, 2, 5, 10. You model all the storms, you address certain storms through Cultex or rain gardens, whatever management tools that the engineer determines. It gets reviewed by our engineer. But certainly there's situations, and this would be one, where they might be uphill of another neighbor, and their goal is, or the requirement is not to address everything, but rather just address what's in the stormwater management regulations, but they don't have to go above and beyond those requirements.
Okay.
So,
So this is a compliance system that manages as much as it's supposed to manage
correct,
based
that's a
on
good
the
way to
work that
phrase
they're
it.
doing? Okay.
Exactly, good way to phrase it. Now, on that west side, the gutter from, I'll call it the southwest corner of the house,
Yeah,
is basically just a gutter that runs to the existing asphalt, and then gravity takes it from there.
right.
Which way does gravity take it now?
Everything goes west on the site.
So the rain barrel will hold back some limited amount of water, whatever, depending on the type of storm. And that area that's now gravel or asphalt will be turned into lawn or plantings.
So it's more
Well,
pervious.
more pervious.
Okay. And then, one other question for the applicant, sorry, Steve.
Go right ahead.
When it does discharge onto Great Hill Road, is there sufficient stormwater management system on Great Hill to accommodate that?
It's a very little amount. I would have to assume the existing town's storm sewer system is well oversized, especially since we have a decrease in existing runoff leaving the property than existing conditions do.
So you're saying it is sufficient to
Yes,
manage?
in a short term.
Okay.
Do we-
I don't have any further.
Do we know where the first stormwater drain is in Great Hill Road?
I'm not sure.
Bottom of the hill.
Okay, because it doesn't show, it's not,
Before you turn off the hill?
it's not here any place, right?
No, we don't have.
Okay. That's fine.
I believe it's by number 9.
We'll get there.
I have a question about the old driveway.
Sure.
So you're going to take out the entire old driveway,
That's right.
and then it's gonna be rocks up until, or gravel, sand, from the road
To this
to
point.
there, and then
Yes.
from that point onwards, it's gonna be back to landscaping and lawn and stuff?
Correct, yeah, we'll remove the asphalt in the subbase and put in topsoil and seed,
Okay.
at least.
Okay.
So it's a limit of the new gravel driveway typical.
Yep,
And, like,
I guess
parking
the
area.
note's it's a little faded. It says existing driveway to be removed and topsoil and seed here. On your plans, it's probably a existing line type in a little faded text.
Yep.
This is fine.
But all the asphalt,
It's getting
which
ripped
is
up.
not here, is gone
Mhm.
in the new one.
Right.
Okay. George? anything? Amy?
And there's no plans for any retaining walls, new walls other than on that side,
Correct.
correct? Okay. And it, remind me again on the tree removal that's happening here
Yeah, the only trees to be removed are essentially along
on that
the
side.
retaining wall.
Okay. And then she has room between that yellow retaining wall and the property line to install new arborvitae's? There's room there?
I believe so.
Probably from the house back, but not driveway forward, I would think,
Yeah.
based on, well,
Right, probably
by
where the
eye.
addition starts. Right.
Isn't one of the trees being removed a very substantial oak tree?
It's a 36-inch oak, yes.
Big tree, right?
It's a big tree, but there's no way to save it, to be honest. The root system will be significantly impacted putting in the foundation of the addition. And again, we'd be happy to maybe plant some new trees in the front yard to compensate for that, maybe at a 2-to-1 increase.
Jeremy, what's the town's position on tree preservation?
Nothing,
Yeah, we don't go deep into them.
right,
What's that?
We don't go deep into them.
Okay.
there are, right, there are, as I was telling Fred earlier today, there were a number of trees designated in the 70s by the Beautification Commission, 6 trees in town. This was not one of them. We checked earlier today. You have the neighbor's letter regarding that 36-inch oak. Harry, can you show us on the plan where that is?
It shows up on Seymour survey.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the umbrella that goes right into the new addition, right?
Yeah, it wouldn't be smart to try to save it.
No.
Okay, and you did say you did the fresh meadow approach for the
Right.
stormwater management.
Right, so no credit was taken for the driveway that's to be removed, the driveway to be resurfaced. We've maintained as asphalt and did not take any credit for transferring it to gravel. There's also an existing screen porch to be removed here. We did not take credit for that impervious area or the patio that's to be removed.
Okay, we're all set, right? We'll open up to the public. You guys are good? Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application?
Yes, please.
Please come forward, sir. Thank you. Just introduce yourself and give us your name and address. It would be great.
Okay.
And Bonnie is the person you want to make sure she gets the spelling of your name correct.
Thank
Sure.
you,
It
sir.
should be easy because I think you've got it written down already. So my name is Charles Post. I am the resident at 26 Great Hill Road, which is the western and downhill abutting property that's been referenced in the prior comments. So as you've heard, there are known and significant stormwater management issues that originate from 24 Great Hill Road. And they have caused significant flooding and damage to both 26 Great Hill Road as well as my immediately southern neighbor, 204 Tokeneke Road. This is a known issue that, as you heard, dates back to 2004. It's resulted in material contention and litigation between the three neighboring properties we've just discussed, as well as at least I've been told, substantial litigation and or other settlement in the multi-six-figure category. That is a plan that this commission reviewed and signed off on. So the standard we've discussed here today of no worse than still has the possibility of significant damage and significant financial damage. So I'll come back to that point, but I'd like to just highlight the plan that was referred to earlier is actually a plan this commission signed off on and nonetheless resulted in significant damage. I shared with you a R-NBD engineering report from 2005 that highlighted that the rainwater from 24 Great Hill Road does flow westerly and southerly. The project completed by the prior owners of my property at 26 Great Hill Road, they installed an even larger infiltration system than we just discussed for 24, as well as the swale that was discussed. We referred to a report that was done by McCord. What wasn't referenced was the report I sent to you in the opinion of R-NBD engineering, which is that the measures at 26 Great Hill are sufficient to withhold the water from 26 Great Hill Road. What they are insufficient of handling is this huge amount of runoff that comes from 24, right? It's the result of which is really less so for me, but more so for my backyard neighbor, a kind of pond-like condition that happens in any significant rainflow in their backyard. So, given the known substantial issues, the request of the commission is to not grant the requested variance, right? What we're discussing here is a modification and a variance to the town's stated standards, right? Which is no excavation and regrading within 10 feet of a property boundary. And as you can clearly see in the plan, I mean, I don't know if that's a foot or 6 inches, but it's right there. Okay, this is right up to, and it's not, this is not my yard, this is the abutting neighbors, you'll hear from them. And as you heard, the property more than doubles in size. So surely there's a plan here that is acceptable to this new owner, who may or may not actually reside in this property, may flip this property, that doesn't require a variance from you all. Let's talk about the rear stormwater. So I think I've addressed that. I'll go to the front yard. Let's just talk about the front yard quickly. The capacity of the infiltration system that we've discussed so far, in my admittedly unprofessional, non-expert opinion, is clearly grossly inadequate for what we're talking about here, right? It's 400 cubic feet. It's going to retain all of the incremental impervious surfaces, including the front of the storm, the front of the roof, the entire new property, a driveway that must be at least 1,300 square feet, as well as all of the property over here from these yard drains. So some simple algebra will show you that. It doesn't take even an inch of rain for that system to become overwhelmed, overflow from this grade. And despite the letter from McCord this morning, it is my unprofessional opinion that if you simply follow the slope lines from this overflow grade, it clearly does not flow to Great Hill Road in its totality. It clearly flows downhill here to here. And if you look at this grade, 6635 is lower than 6647 and is clearly going to flow southern and retain the same issue. So the standard of the town may be an aggregate reduction of flow, but I think what this plan really does is simply take creates impervious surfaces on the eastern portion that otherwise would have been permeated to the ground here and redirects it to the west and to the south, and actually in the aggregate makes the overflow from this western corner much worse than it is today. Driveway modifications. This town takes a lot of pride in the aesthetic appeal of the town. We don't even allow neon signs for any of our stores, okay? I've driven around a lot of the town, I'm sure you have. I can't think of a property in town that has 2 curb cuts with 2 driveways of 2 different types of materials. And, you know, there's been no explanation here for why that's the case, which makes me concerned. That means they're gonna park cars, they're gonna, you know, I don't know, they put this on Facebook and make some extra income having people park their cars there. I don't know, but I'm not looking forward to finding out what this hidden reason is for the extra driveway. Candidly, I'm concerned that the gravel surface is actually a direct acknowledgement that the overflow here is gonna create a flooding surface condition here, and they don't wanna deal with a flooded lawn here, and so they're putting stone pebbles here instead. Significant tree removal. Your zoning regulations, section 853F specifically says, okay, this is just right from your zoning regulations, no application shall be approved until the commission shall be satisfied that the proper provision shall be made to control the preservation of significant trees. That's undefined. So to your discretion, what a significant tree is, and if a 150-year-old oak tree, which is the state tree, which is literally on the logo of the street sign for this particular street, is not a significant tree, then you might as well just delete that provision. What's the point, right? So you have, I would say, leeway to decide what a significant tree is. And again, if it weren't for this grading wall being in an unconforming position on the lot, which is within 10 feet, then there would be no need to remove that tree. So implicitly, by agreeing to this variance, you are agreeing to remove a significant tree. And again, I don't know why that needs to be the case. So in conclusion, you know, I appreciate your time, appreciate your consideration. Candidly, I am not the recipient of most of the damage that comes from the water that flows from my property. And so why don't I yield the floor to Tyler Reed, who does.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. Tyler Reed, R-EED.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
204 Tokeneke Road?
That is correct, sir.
Got it.
So, obviously not as well prepared as Mr. Post, but just like to add some color on top of his comments. Me residing in 204 Tokeneke Road, I'm from the understanding recently, after the previous resident's children knocked at my door and told me about the previous lawsuit that happened from the flooding of the proposed new project, that they also had some issues which involved the lawsuit. When it rains, I apologize, he spoke of a 25 and 50-year storm. If you believe in chaos theory, it's approximately maybe the 30-day storm. My backyard floods. We preemptively open the garage to let rainwater out. I have water coming down my offices. I spent $15,000 recently on a project to re-drywall when our basement flooded. We have a very large sump pump that is perceived as overkill by the home inspector when I moved in. Our drainage system has a 2-foot large pipe that exits onto my driveway, and all the rainwater then proceeds out onto Tokeneke Road. That was added by the other owners after they had received the settlement from the previous owner of the property in question. So just as anecdotal, coming over some color, my yard floods, I have videos, there is water rushing down from the proposed project. Now, a 55-gallon drum, which I believe was stated somewhere, I could fill that in about 6 seconds in the corner of my yard. It's a constant problem. Again, not a 50-year storm, not a 25-year storm. It's a few times per year from when I've been living there. So it's under constant stress, constant worry, etc. I have videos I didn't know how to send, unfortunately, to the council. It's a rather large video of the amount of water coming down. I'm not a surfer. but I may have been able to ride a surfboard down from their yard. A lot of erosion. The landscapers, my landscapers have attempted to put rocks, because obviously mulch then runs into our yard, causes our over adequate drainage system in my backyard. I mean, this thing's overkill. Again, I'm not an expert. There is a 2-foot pipe coming down from French drains trying to drain the road, trying to drain the water out onto Tokeneke Road. So that is my anecdotal kind of observation. Again, I'm not gonna pretend I'm an expert in reading topo maps and the way the water drains. I'd be happy to send videos of the excessive amount of water that piles into my yard with the water flowing from the proposed addition. And I don't think that keeping it the same is good enough, right? Why keep it the same? You're doing all this work to this home. Help me out. Thank you.
As a question, when our last major storm hit, and you can pick which one you wanted, did you report that to Town Hall and Public Works? Did you get on that list?
No, sir, I did not. I just took it under my own accord to go ahead and fix the drywall, replace windows, add some additional drainage to my home.
You should still do that too. That's where the FEMA money came in, because what the town did, the town had to get over, I think that was like $50 million.
Okay.
Would that
Like-
qualify if he's not in a flood zone?
Any flooding. They were looking for any flooding that happened at anyone. There was a bunch of emails that went out looking for that stuff.
Yeah.
So put your name on that list,
Okay.
because they ascribe dollar numbers to it.
Okay.
And once you get the $50 million out, then the FEMA money, floodgates opened up and the money came out.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
No, and sir, I'm not one to try to take advantage of
No, you wouldn't get.
of my fellow
yeah, no.
taxpayers' dollars. I live in the house. I fix it as it comes, but it's become a major
Yeah,
problem.
no, you wouldn't, you don't necessarily get any money, it's just the town gets it.
A heads up. Yeah, making you aware.
I did when I drove by, I was trying to guesstimate the difference in topography between the back of Great Hill and where you are. I mean, because it's a pretty significant cliff that comes down.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not an expert. I wouldn't define it as a cliff, but it is a significant, I wouldn't call it significant. I'm from Western Pennsylvania, so I'm used to steeper hills.
It's about 10 feet.
Yeah,
It's only 10 feet?
Yeah, well,
And I was
thank you,
thinking
Ms.
about the property next door.
Oh, so yeah, theirs is actually kind of, they have a little bit of upslope
Yes, I was.
running
then
down from
I
and
was
before
looking
it
at
comes
the one
down.
next door. Okay,
So,
okay.
The topo map on the survey submitted, the high point is 75, the elevation is 75, and down in that corner, it gets down to 60.
Yeah, but the guy next door, one
Right.
over, the change is even greater.
yeah,
Really great.
I'm higher up
Yeah.
than they are.
Yeah.
They have some flooding in the front of their house, again, anecdotally. I, shoot some pictures of the yardstick, maybe,
Yeah.
but,
That's 210 Tokeneke Road we're talking about.
that's to the.
Because it goes 204, 210, 212.
Yeah, so yes, that's correct, sir.
The Ottlingers?
I believe the house is rented, so I'm not 100% sure on the
It's a rental.
That's fine.
owners of the house.
There's a rental.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you,
Any
appreciate
other
it.
questions? But thank you, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Would anybody else like to speak to this application? Come on forward, thank you. Just state your name and address for the record,
Sure,
please.
it's James Pettit, P-E-T-T-I-T, and I live directly to the east at 22 Great Hill Road. While I don't have as much concern from a drainage perspective today as Mr. Post and the neighbor on Tokeneke do, we actually have the concern around what defines significant tree loss. From our side, we had an entire healthy tree line of a combination of hemlocks and firs that have already been taken out. So I don't know about a permit to remove, they've been removed. And now we're talking about taking down what I would deem certainly a significant oak tree. Those former hemlocks and firs afforded us privacy, they afforded us windbreak, they afforded us a lot of shade, given the fact that that is a south and west exposure, afforded us soil retention, We didn't have the same issues as runoff as 26 and 204 Tokeneke do. Our issue is what will become of this new retaining wall. Unfortunately, when my wife spoke with with the owner, we were given a very different story about where the positioning of that retaining wall was to be. The fact that it comes so close to our property line, I now have new grave concerns about what could be runoff from my property onto theirs, and any backup on that rainwater might create for our property. So I don't really, again, I don't want to belabor points, because I think Mr. Post did a great job talking about the real concern as well as 204. But from our perspective, to already have lost privacy, shade, soil retention, and the concept of replacing them with something inferior, if even possible, with that narrow sliver between the retaining wall and our property line, I definitely have concerns about that.
Okay, thank you. Would anybody else like to speak to this application? You sure? You're good? Where's Harry? Harry's hiding? There he is. Thank you, sir. Let's talk about the front first. Because in the front, I ended, the retaining wall that's there today, that's curved, right? Does that hold any water out of Great Island Road? Great Hill Road?
No. Topography goes east to west and flows over the wall.
It goes over the wall?
Yes.
How high is that wall?
That wall is 4 feet. So it varies the slope, but the spot elevation I'm looking at here, about 4 feet.
So wait a second, the 4 feet of, the water gets up to 4 feet high?
Oh, no, I'm saying this is a 4-foot wall. I'm saying runoff from the property all comes east to west, across the line, it'll spill over the wall, and then continue east to west. It's not any sort of channel or anything.
That's what I'm asking.
No. The slope of Great Hill is coming down east to west as well. At no point does Great Hill go south.
Okay, but.
You'll actually see there's a pretty clear gutter line with the topo here.
Right, so that wall doesn't act as a channel and block the water from going into the road in any way or form?
No.
Why not?
What do you mean?
I would
It's
suspect
level,
it
it's
would.
level with the lawn.
What's that?
With the
It's
lawn.
level with the lawn, the top of the wall.
Okay.
It just supports the driveway.
Right.
I got it, so it goes off the top of the wall down
Yeah,
to the driveway.
into the
It
driveway.
supports the driveway from the upper lawn, and then at the same time provides access to that rear garage that we spoke of in the back.
I got you. Okay. So is there anything you can do on that side of the property?
Well, I think we're doing a significant amount on that side of the property already by removing the existing driveway that's closest to the drainage concerns and resurfacing the existing. I think if we start touching the existing wall, and rather keep it as an existing condition, then it'll create more disturbance closer to that property.
Got it.
Did you consider any form of like a drainage swale to ensure that overflow made it to the road?
We could certainly massage the grading at the end of the project in that area to ensure, but the existing conditions show that it does come that way. We'd be happy to, massage these grades a little bit more to, triple check that it does get there. That will be no problem at the end of construction.
And what do
We
you
could even reposition that drain, as needed to make sure it gets there too.
What
along with
happens
the grades.
during construction? Because we heard from the neighbors that, the original construction on this site, clear cut, took down some big trees, very similar to what this project proposes to do, and create a real mess for the neighbors. What are your measures during construction that ensure, does the drainage facility get built first, or how does that work?
Yeah, it's typically up front. Nothing can get to that drainage facility until the driveway is installed and the roof leaders were installed. But it is typically one of the first things that happens on the drainage system. But, the order of operations is going to be building the construction access here and then start forming out the addition, as well as doing the earthwork around the side of the property.
But no, wait, I don't know if you misspoke or I missed it. The major construction that goes back, was that on 24 or on 26?
Or 204?
So the history that I was giving earlier was when we were involved in this project back in 2005, we were hired by the owner of 204 at the time, believe it was the Burks.
Okay.
They were in the lawsuit against the owner at the time here, which I wish I had that.
Barrett.
Oh, Barrett, exactly, Burks and Barrett. So in 2004, 2006 range, 26 Great Hill Road, enlarged the driveway, installed a large wood deck, and significantly cleared the rear of their property. They removed 10 trees that were greater than 36 inches.
So 26 was clear cut.
26 was clear
Not
cut.
24.
Not 24.
Yeah, it was
Gotcha.
previously heavily wooded, which provided a nice buffer and filtration of runoff, and didn't channelize the runoff down to 204. When they added all that fill, they created a swale, because now their property is much higher than our property. A swale naturally gets created between that fill package, and that's where the concentrated flow started, heading down to here.
So that's on 26,
That's on 26, right.
Okay.
Our property is always drained east to west.
right?
The drainage paths weren't changed, we don't plan to change them. I'd like to reiterate, we can only work with our existing conditions now. That's what the zoning regulations and drainage manual state, and we're improving the site. But that was the history of the property. I didn't have enough time, like I said, to look through all the details, but the main points were 6 feet were added and filled to here. It was clear cut from woodland to lawn, and the slopes were increased as a result of leveling off that yard. You're pushing the slope closer to 204 Tokeneke. So now you're just, as you said, the slopes are steep coming down from Tokeneke, as you saw. They increased the slopes there. There's nothing stopping it other than a gravel trench there, which fills up instantly. There's no storage in that, and it spills over to the lower properties. Water drains downhill, and also the main concern is that concentrated flow that gets created. It channelizes all the runoff from both properties down there. Our property, as I said, has always drained this way. It used to drain more towards the center, where it had a longer time of concentration down to Tokeneke Road. Now it hits the swale here and has nowhere else to go. Nothing we can do with that condition, not our property.
This swale's not on your property, so
No.
it's, okay.
I might simply highlight that.
It's okay, it's,
I'm
you
sorry.
have to come to the microphone, you can speak, but you'll get another shot at it. Go ahead, Amy.
Question, the regulated area, setback, Jeremy, on the east side where that retaining wall is, regulations are currently 10 feet, correct?
Right. The reason that this application is here is
It's
because of
because it's
this
in the 10 foot.
regrading within 10 feet of a
Yeah.
property line, change of grade
Yeah.
more than 6 inches.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a variance or a
It's
special
not a-
permit.
Yeah,
It's, they need to come to you for this land filling and regrading application because of the location of the fill so close to the property line.
Yep.
So that's why they're here tonight.
And if right now on this survey, we can see that we can see where the 15-foot line is. I can kind of eyeball a guess as to where that 10-foot line is. And when I'm looking at this topography, I'm just trying to ascertain if there's a different way to accomplish what they want without actually encroaching into this area. Has the homeowners considered a design whereby they were not, had significant regrading within that 10-foot area?
Well, we did look at a bunch of different alternatives. You can see the addition is right on the 15-foot line.
Yep.
We were gonna be here regardless. There's always gonna have to be grading done within the 15-foot line because the grade is right here about 1.5 feet higher than the garage floor. So just to be able to walk out of their garage or have the driveway there, any way you cut it, you're gonna have to have a wall or significant grading in the property. We thought the wall was the cleanest. It keeps the existing grade on the adjacent property to the east. It creates a flat area around their addition as opposed to having a 3-to-1 slope coming down at their new addition. And it also provides access around the rear yard here. They have a door coming out of the garage. They're building a great new patio back here. They don't want to have to come walk all the way around these stairs, all the way back around these stairs to access their patio, without having to walk up a slope. So we thought a wall would be the cleanest.
Question. The wall is a cut, so you're not adding any fill to that east side of the property near Mr. Pettit.
Right.
Everything will remain where it is now in terms of grade or be lower.
Right, yes, the topography to the east of the wall is staying the same. We're just cutting on our side of the wall. I mean, the wall is 3 feet at its tallest point. We're not changing the grade at top, so it's gonna,
Yep.
get smaller as you get closer to the
Yep, You're
road.
just cutting it
It's
out
only about a
from the
6-inch
line-
wall here.
From the wall out, you're cutting out.
Yes,
You know, from the wall in towards the.
You're cutting.
Yeah,
Cut-
from the
cutting
wall,
Right,
towards the
and
house,
towards the
towards
addition,
the
right.
proposed addition.
So the east side of the wall, it's been staying the same as the west side of the wall.
right.
Is being raised up.
Cut out,
No, cut
Yeah,
out.
we're cutting down on our
going
side.
low.
Got it.
That is where the arborvitae will go, between
Yes.
the wall and the east boundary.
In terms of a landscaping plan, did they hire a landscape architect at all?
We don't have one now.
Okay. Can we require one?
Well, I guess the question for the commission is,
Or, I mean, it doesn't have to be an official one, just that,
could-
go ahead.
so your question is, do you want the applicant to come back with revised changes for a future meeting? And if so, what would those changes be?
Right, would be a definition of the landscaping proposed on the east side.
And preferably negotiated with the neighbor.
Yeah, discussed with.
Could I request that could be reviewed with staff as opposed to coming back to another meeting with the commission?
I want to check on that in a second, because I'd like to close the hearing tonight. There seems to be a couple items that might be open, and I'm trying to see if we
Appreciate it.
get beyond those.
Is there any work that can be done on this property to help mitigate what you've described as the water path that goes down and hits that swale? Is there any remediation that can be done in that back left corner?
Yeah, I'd argue we're already doing that by replacing the asphalt driveway with lawn and plantings in this area. Asphalt is obviously a lot more impervious than lawn, and then the plantings, asphalt, runoff on asphalt gains much more velocity, reaches the neighboring property much more, allows no runoff in. The lawn will increase the ability of that area and all of those items.
But
And we're
there's-
not changing the drainage paths.
But there's
either.
no catch basin there that can direct water back towards the front?
No, that's the lowest part of the property. There's no way to,
It's gotta go uphill.
yeah, we
Yeah.
can't.
What's the maximum size you can do that, rain barrel?
I'm not sure.
Like 55 gallons, or,
I don't want to put a number on it. I'm not positive.
okay?
It'll be used for irrigation often. It'll have an overflow once it gets full, and then that will go back to the existing conditions of roof leader going to ground surface. Only this time it'll be filtering through lawn and not on the asphalt, and we're capturing the rest of the house that we can.
On the other side.
Yeah.
Is that at grade, or is that in the ground, the rain barrel?
It's at grade.
Okay,
Yeah, so it can work via gravity, not to be pumped.
got it. Go ahead, George.
As for your wall, that is your orange line on the west side and it curves in.
That's a silt fence.
It's the
Oh,
silk
it's
fence.
just a silk fence?
Yes.
No, I meant actually on the western border.
Is silt fence also.
This one, that's also
Yeah,
silk
that's just a silk
yeah.
fence. Okay.
Those are two silt fences.
Removed later.
Adam?
Is there any issue, since it looks like a lot of the water is gonna run west and south towards that back corner, of having the propane tank sort of right in the direct line of sight there?
Well, the propane tank's gonna be underground.
Right, but some of it's gonna be, the mechanical little
It'll
whole
have
thing
the-
will
yeah,
stick
it'll have
up,
the
right?
hood.
Is that not, the flooding isn't that big of an issue to impact that in any way?
I don't think it would make any difference to the location of that hood.
Okay. And then, would the runoff situation be improved if you totally scrapped the gravel second driveway and replaced it all the way with lawn and seed?
Potentially, yeah.
So it would be a little bit better there.
It would probably be a little bit better, yeah. I haven't ran any of those numbers, but I would assume so.
Is there a door at the house where see where the pink driveway, gravel driveway goes in and then it touches the house and it goes out? Is there a door there?
There's a door right here.
No, on the old house.
For the garage door.
Oh, right here?
Yeah.
No, that's just a garage. I think they may be adding a door there when they fill in the garage door.
So to Adam's point, if you took out that gravel driveway from that door going south, what's that,
Just the back.
northwest? And cut that out, yeah.
This section here?
No, the other section, the pink section.
That's just a walkway.
Right.
I think it's a 5 or 4 foot walkway.
Was that the one you're talking about?
I'm talking about scrapping the whole thing. I don't mind the walkway, but the driveway, certainly in the front, because that's the main, sort of looks like genesis of where all the water is gonna be. So if you can, as much as you can beef up that front corner, the less will end up in the back corner. If that tank overflows, it's going right to that front corner, which is the gravel driveway now. If you rip that out, don't need 2 driveways, put grass in there, might be a little bit more improved.
I think my recommendation would be to sort of meet in the middle and have a thicker gravel base to store more runoff in that area. If we could agree to that.
And that's,
For the gravel base here, maybe we could remove more of that sub base and maybe even some of the underlying soils so that gravel driveway will store some more runoff as well.
so it's like trap rock or
Yeah,
something?
or even add a curb to it to really force that water back to Great Hill, where, as I said, everything just comes east to west here. It's not getting out to Great Hill until you're in the front. So maybe if we could have a curb line to massage the grades, if we can, to push the water out to Great Hill away from that neighbor's house.
So that's that dotted line that's there today?
Yeah, I think right now it's sort of a row of evergreens that has sort of a little berm on it, but it's not the same that a curb would.
Is there anything in our regulations about multiple driveways like that?
People have them.
You can have them?
Yeah,
You
there's a
can turn
bunch
your
of
whole
them.
Yeah, they have
lawn
the-
into a parking lot if you wanted to?
Well, the driveways on a public road, Great Hill Road's a public road.
They gotta cut.
DPW has standards, they have to be a certain distance apart, they can't be too wide, they can't be too narrow, and they have to be approved by DPW, so they'll need a street opening permit for the new curb cut.
The new curb, the old ones stay the same.
There's a bunch of those on Walnut Point.
Yeah.
On the other side, most of them are grass. There's a
Yeah.
curb cut.
We got one on my street. I mean, I feel the neighbor's concern is that people use it strictly to park, and they told us, we won't park there, we won't park there, you know, we just wanna have it for emergency uses, there's car there all the time.
Get
So-
to the pool equipment on the
Yeah.
other side.
At least this driveway, you have to go upstairs. I wouldn't park my car there to carry in groceries or anything like that.
Yeah, it'll be like the high school
Yeah,
kids'
and
car spot
overflow,
kind of
things
thing.
like that.
You'll have kids at high school soon.
Park on the street.
Not in this town. What is that line that's on here, this dotted line? I don't, this one you lost me on.
Maybe the underground electrical.
This one
I think
here.
that's the only dotted line on there.
No, it's inside
Oh, I
the
see.
sofa.
I think that's the underground electrical.
This one here.
This is the sewer, and I think that's probably electrical.
No, I think the electrical runs down the driveway.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, the driveway.
Proposed underground electric
We're
service.
talking about this line right here.
Oh, yeah,
That's the
I
electrical.
thought you were talking about
it is
that top
electrical.
line.
No.
So if you did a curb on that side, that would that be near the underground electrical service?
I mean, the underground electrical doesn't have to be exactly there. We could, we could shift things over to accommodate that.
But I'm saying in the general sense, is that where you're thinking the curb would be?
Yeah, essentially the edge of the existing driveway. I'll go back to the existing one that's highlighted.
Oh, the existing driveway is dead up against
It's probably a foot off.
the property line. Okay. All right, what takeaways do we need? Are we missing anything?
I personally would like to understand the planting plan and have the neighbors have the input on that. I mean, just throwing up a bunch of arborvitae isn't really as nice as having some
Landscape plan.
real trees. And I'd really like to understand the rainbow. Like, I wanna know how big it is, what its function is, if it's actually gonna do anything for the neighbors.
Well, the calculations don't take it into account,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
So,
it's
so it's
really-
conform, right, but I'd still like to understand that. I mean,
Yeah.
is it gonna catch 90% of that and store it there, or is it gonna catch 10% of what goes
It's designed to catch the back half of the roof,
Yeah, yeah. I
because the
mean,
front half of the roof is getting catch with the new one.
right.
And remind me again why we can't catch and attenuate this water off the back to an
Sure.
underground gallery?
Sure, because the retaining wall here, so this drain comes down much lower than the bottom of this detention system, so we can't get it there via gravity. And we can't install another system in the backyard because it's all existing asphalt, all those soils would be compacted and not suitable for a detention system. And the rain garden, I mean, it's just gonna be a nice thing to have instead of using your hose for watering your plants every day.
You said rain garden.
I mean the rain barrel, sorry.
Yeah.
I think you meant rain garden.
No rain garden.
But
I would take a rain garden.
I was going to mention
I
rain
don't
garden.
recommend it.
I mean, you did mention that your client is an avid gardener. Did they consider, a rain garden that would assist with the water flow?
It isn't really a suitable site for the application of a rain garden, unfortunately.
In what respect?
I mean, we probably need to be to be anywhere, it needs to be in the backyard, and that would be where the existing driveway is. So the soils, you want rain gardens to infiltrate, and the location it would be, wouldn't be suitable for that, and I don't think anyone wants a rain garden there.
Right, but you're taking out the existing driveway, and you kind of sort of said that we could you can dig deeper on the old driveway to make it more pervious, right?
Yeah, that would just be for increase in storage. We're not gonna rely on any of that to infiltrate on top of the old compacted driveway. And on rain gardens, you really want those to infiltrate, otherwise
Really
they
deep.
become as mosquito habitat. Or you need to use an under drain, and in this case, there'd be nowhere to outlet that under drain, besides to right at the neighbors, which we don't wanna do.
Okay, all right, so can we keep this open to get the landscaping plan, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, we can certainly do that in, this one I have, trees, it would give Harry a chance to do the deep test in the front, right, which he said he could schedule next week.
Yeah, early next week.
Yep. And any other considerations or changes to the plans?
Relative to making the driveway deeper, digging that trench deeper so you can collect more water,
Yeah, we'll provide a detail on our plan for that.
that'd be
Okay.
great. And
So-
then also, can you just give me a better definition of what's going on with this rain barrel?
Sure, I'll find a spec and I'll provide it to the commission.
That'd be great. Anything else you want?
Are you adding an irrigation system to the back? Or is there an irrigation system?
I'm not sure if there's one there, and I don't think they plan on adding one, but I don't want,
You can always add
But
it
I'm
2
not
years
sure.
later.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
trying to help.
Yeah, no. Those are the guys that make the irrigation systems, are the guys that are creating droughts. Anything else you want, Amy?
I ideally would love to see a solution for that back left side. And that's not my bailiwick, but, every question I've posed has been, no, that's not possible.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna leave this open until we can get a couple of those items. Could you put them at the top of the list?
Tuesday, October 18th, 7:30.
Does that work?
Tuesday, October, I'll make it work.
Great, thanks, Harry.
Is that gonna be a continuation of the public hearing, or
Yes.
is it general?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so the hearing will be continued to Tuesday, October 18th at 7:30 in this room, room 206 at Town Hall. There'll be no additional mailings going out, but if folks want to check online or check our office for the revised plans in early October.
And then lastly, there's nothing wrong with that tree, it's just big and it's in the way, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so keep it open, we'll see everybody on October 18th. Great?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Harry.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for your time.
Next item. Coastal site plan review number 244A, floodstone prevention application number 276A, land filling and regrading application number 536, Jeffrey Collins and Samara. Nice stinking names, I'm sorry. Matsumi. At 112 5 Mile River Road, proposal to construct an in-ground pool, including associated patio areas on the eastern portion of the site, perform related site development activities within regulated areas, including regrading of the property and installation of stormwater management. The 0.5 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the west side of 5 Mile River Road at the southwest corner formed by its intersection with Davis Lane. Is shown on Assessor's map number 67 as lot 24 in the R1 half zone. Gentlemen, what do we got? Fred, what do we got?
Take this one. This is, the applicant proposes to install a new in-ground pool in the front yard of the property. It's coastal site plan review, so it's been designed to comply with section 810 of the regulations, flood damage prevention 820 of the regulations, and land filling regrading 850 of the regulations, as well as the town's stormwater management regulations, section 880 of the regulations. The application was reviewed by Darren Ostafine of DPW. He submitted comments for the record on September 2nd. The application was also referred to Westcog. We received comments from them also on September 2nd. They commented that they have no material comments and that the application is of local interest. We also reviewed the application to Connecticut Deep. We received comments from them on September 20th. They commented that the applicant is proposing adequate sedimentation and erosion control measures, and they recommend that they be inspected and maintained during construction. The application was referred to the city of Norwalk because it's within 500 feet of the town boundary. And we have Oven of Casutas Engineering here, the applicant's representative. He can provide some additional background on the application, answer any questions the commission may have.
So you're putting in the pool.
They're putting in a pool.
There you go. It's like the 80th pool this year.
Really?
Yep.
Probably 75 more than that, so.
You set a record last year.
Absolutely. So my name's Avon Bauer, B-A-U-R.
Well,
I'm a project engineer at Crucidis Engineering, and I'm here on behalf of Jeffrey Collins, the owner of 112 5 Mile River Road, for a proposal to put in a pool and a small amount of patio. So the existing property sits in a R1 half acre zone. It's directly across the street from 5 Mile River Road. It's the 5 Mile River itself, as I'm sure most of you are well aware. So the entire property, being that it's lower than elevation 13, sits in the FEMA AE 13 flood zone, the 100-year flood special hazard zone. And it is within, a portion of the property is within the 100-foot boundary of the CAM review area as set forth by your regulations. The owner is proposing to construct a 420 square foot in-ground pool with an overflow spillway and a trough. The elevation of the pool is going to be 13.75 to keep it above the base flood elevation, even though it's not required because it's not living space. A drainage system is proposed to collect the increase in runoff. It's going to collect the slot drain for the pool patio, as well as the overflow from the pool itself. It has been designed with water quality volume and groundwater recharge capabilities. And this project, as Fred mentioned, required 3 separate applications. The first being the coastal area management application, where Connecticut DEP has agreed with us that there are not going to be any adverse impacts to any coastal area resources, as long as the S&E controls that we have depicted are installed and maintained through the course of the project. There's also not going to be any disruption to natural flow patterns, and there are no adverse impacts to any coastal resources anticipated. Another portion of this project is the flood damage prevention, because we are in the area of special flood hazard, that in order to mitigate any potential damage, the pool elevation, as I mentioned, is going to be above the base flood elevation at the 100-year flood. And it's going to be constructed out of concrete, so it will be heavy enough to resist lateral movement, and a hydrostatic pressure valve will be installed to prevent any uplift and flotation of the pool. And the last application that we had to put through was the landfilling and excavation and earth removal. That's was triggered because there's going to be more than 6 inches of increased disturbance, or excuse me, of elevation change in the yard, and that's in relation to the patio, which you see is in brown, which is all going to be elevated up to meet that 13.5 elevation of the pool as well. The existing ground in that area is approximately elevation 10 to 11, so there's a good 2 or 3 feet of fill that are going to be needed in relation to that. We're anticipating about 20 cubic yards of excavation, another 19 of fill for a 1 cubic yard or so net removal. Very minimal disturbance with this project. And we're keeping positive pitch away from the building and not creating any steep slopes to avoid any scouring or erosion. As Fred mentioned, we have a positive endorsement from DPW on September 13th. P&Z has spoken favorably of it as well. And we have a neighbor at 114 5 Mile River Road who has written a letter that was uploaded to the portal. I apologize, we only received it yesterday, but as soon as we got it, it was put forward to you. They are positively in favor of the project. The neighbor is right here at 114 5 Mile River Road. He's the one who would, in any way, shape, or form, be the most potentially impacted by any activity that would be here.
And that letter's in the file, right?
Unfortunately, I didn't have time to get it into the file, though I do have a hard copy if it needs to
Oh,
be.
great, yeah.
Yeah, it is included.
Okay.
It was put on the
Beautiful.
portal, but
Thank
we
you.
got it yesterday evening, so
Got it.
unfortunately,
Thanks.
there wasn't enough time to actually put it.
That's fine. No, a lot of people, it's the one wants bushes
Oh.
when they're building a pool in the backyard.
Yeah. So, as stated in the letter from CTDEP, as long as the S&E controls are installed, which we have a silt fence barrier, which is to protect the row of trees that sit along the 114 property. And it's going to extend along the entire downhill portion of the property with a stockpile area that will be protected, as well as a mud tracking pad for anything coming off the site for transference. We do anticipate not having any adverse impacts to the 5 Mile River or any of its coastal resources. And I appreciate your time, and I'm here to answer any questions should you have any.
Where's the pool equipment, real quick?
Oh, that's a good point. I should have mentioned that. So inside the garage, the pool equipment is going to be on an elevated pad that will be at a minimum of base flood 14, 1 foot plus the base flood elevation to avoid any adverse damage to that. There is a note on the plan, I believe, somewhere right underneath the pool itself that states, it should be on all of your plan sets as well. That states that the pool equipment pad is going to be inside the garage at elevation 4.
Equipment pad and platform, yep, on the other one. Got it. So the address of the property is on 5 Mile River Road, but really it's a Davis Lane address? So this is going in the side yard, not the front yard?
Correct. I believe it's a weird situation because
Yeah.
there's 2 frontages to the property. I mean, the building setback line is this dash line here, which leaves very little space. And we actually do adhere to the building setbacks as far as where the pool is located.
I saw that.
It's in a side/front yard because really there is no backyard to this.
Where's
property.
the front door to the house? It's on Davis Lane, right?
Yeah.
There's, the main front porch is along 5 Mile River Road, but there is a separate door. They both go into 2 separate entry foyers, just because it's a corner lot.
Yep.
Okay.
You could argue both ways.
Okay. Questions? Want to go first, Amy?
Sure. I see this maintenance plan that was submitted. That was not discussed, and my question for you is, who created this operations and maintenance plan? And how important is adherence to this plan to create the functionality of this stormwater management?
Yeah, so that was actually one of the items that was requested by DPW Engineering on several projects we've done in the past, and it's now become a standard issue that we put. Darren Ostefine likes to see that, and it's not particularly critical because what we've done is we've designed our system to flow by gravity and to have very minimal disturbance as far as anything getting into the system that shouldn't be getting there, such as any debris. That's why the slot drains have the grates over them. So long as the plan is generally adhered to and, you know, you maintain it simply, it should function perfectly.
I just have never seen one of these. Is this?
Yeah, it's a new fresh.
You'll start seeing them more and more.
Yeah.
There you go. You good?
I guess just being in the line of work that I do, you know, I sell houses, so there's a homeowner that knows about this, and then the next homeowner might not know about this. So
Unfortunately, there's only so much you can
I'm trying to figure out how
control.
important this is.
It's, as I said, our system is designed to work as best as possible and as long as possible with little to no maintenance. However, like anything else, you wait 50 years to do anything, it is going to be a problem.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we're not recording these things in the land records.
No, but there is a document filed in land records, which is notice of drainage maintenance plan. So in you'll see in these approvals, there's a notice filed in land records referring people back to these
So we will
applications.
find it. Town report will find it. Okay.
So like in a municipal search, this will come up when a house transfers.
We do see people more and more coming in to say, I'd like to see the plan. So we have to find the drainage plan and the maintenance plan.
Okay.
Now
Thank
it's
you.
all on the portal, we're off to the races. You good?
Yep.
Gentlemen?
I'm good.
Just for a second, if you will humor me. You said there'd be no steep grade, but we're going from 13 down to 10, right?
Yeah.
Toward the road. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the retaining wall is actually going to extend up to the patio elevation. It's going to be below 30 inches for the most part. I believe it'll be just about 35 inches or so at the highest. So there'll be a railing and everything that needs to be installed. But it's going to remain, the grade around it is going to remain natural. And the pool wall itself, along the side that doesn't have the trough, will actually act as the retaining wall for the pool itself. So the pool will kind of be sitting about yay high off the ground on that particular side. And all these considerations were done to make sure we keep that out of that 100-year flood elevation.
Okay, so where's the actual soil gonna go?
So the small amount of excavation from the pool is just going to be compacted and installed here to be the base of the patio.
Under the patio, okay.
Yep.
All right, so between the pool and 5 Mile River, there is no drop-off and
There's no
grade?
drop-off.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
That's why there's so little anticipated earth disturbance, because the little bit that we take out to install the pool a few feet down just goes right over to the patio to be used.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that bottom corner at the front porch is 10.8, right?
Yes.
And then you're filling it in to raise it up. So what's the height of the porch? Is that,
So, yeah, the front porch is.
so how do you
about
walk
1
into the
step
pool at that level from the house?
down. So you're gonna walk straight down onto basically the front porch, which is their side porch. And then from there, it's just gonna be a flat surface with a little gate to the
That's
small
what I thought.
patio area. It's not a patio area as much as it is just a safe area for them to walk around the pool.
Got it. So that front porch is gonna be one of the security fences for the pool.
Effectively correct. And then, yeah, the fence will tie in from there to be full.
Great, because you gotta have a 4-foot fence around the pool.
Correct.
Okay, anything else? Good? Would anybody in the general public like to speak to this application? Seeing none, anything we missed, guys? Okay. With that said, or not said, I take a motion to close. Adam makes a motion, looking for a second. Mike makes a second, all those in favor? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Commissioners. Have a great night.
Yep, hearing's closed. Okay, the Yankees are up 5-2. I don't know if Aaron Judge hit a home run.
I don't take our time then.
Well, Judge hasn't done anything.
George is watching it, okay?
Let me take this one.
All the phones would light up if Judge hits 61.
I turn my ringer off. I can turn it on.
My watch would start vibrating.
That's true. I'll tell you a story about that someday, my watch beep and what it wasn't supposed to. All right, next item up for bid. There you go. Land Filling Regrading Application number 537, Adrian and Carrie Ann Merck at 106 Colony Road Extension. Proposal to regrade the rear yard to mitigate drainage impacts and to construct a retaining wall and a series of landscape stone slab steps and pathway from the lower portion of the existing slope to provide access to the upper east side of the property and perform related site development activities. The 0.66 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the north side of Colony Road Extension, approximately 200 feet east of its intersection with Colony Road. Is shown on Assessor's map number 23 as lot 122 in the R1 half zone. Gentlemen, what do we got?
Sure. You want to take this? You want me?
Yeah, go ahead.
The existing 106 Colony Road extension property, if you look at the backyard, it's really at two levels. When you first walk out of the house, there's a patio with a new retaining wall, and then as you walk further in the backyard, there's kind of an upper level. Part of this application is to change that upper level a little bit. Right now, it's a little informal with some boulders. It's to formalize it, put some stairs, makes it easier to get to that upper level of the yard. There is a little bit of a change to impervious surface, but not much. But basically, it's a little grading relative to, I'll call it the formalization of the upper level of the backyard. And so Keith Simpson, landscape architect, is here to tell you a little bit more about what's involved in trying to stabilize that yard, flatten it in a little bit, and make it more accessible for the property owner.
I would just quickly add to Jeremy's summary of the application that Darren Ostafine reviewed the plans and submitted comments dated September 23rd for the record. We note, or he notes, that stormwater management system was added to these plans. Stormwater management isn't technically required by Section 880 of the regulations unless there's 1,000 feet of impervious surface provided, but given the fact that a stormwater management system was proposed or is proposed, including yard drains that drain to infiltrators in the backyard, he notes in his comments that stormwater quality calculations were not found, stormwater peak rates of runoff were not provided, soil tests and percolation deep hole tests were not provided. So we really have no assurance at this point whether the system that's been provided is going to function properly as intended.
But yet they're not required to provide that system for us in this application?
That's correct. We assume that the additional impervious surfaces proposed here, including the retaining walls and the steps and boulders, don't meet that threshold, but perhaps that's something that Mr. Simpson can clarify for the commission.
Well, they have the required and existing. My eyes are shut. I can't read this stuff. This.
Can't help you.
That says 6 foot. Welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Good evening. I'm Keith Simpson, KEITHSIMPSON, and I'm here with Mr. William Pollock from my office. It's POLLACK.
Thank you.
And Mr. and Mrs. Merck are here also because they're very interested in us being able to move along and improve their property.
Is the playscape area staying?
Excuse me, sir?
Is the playscape area staying?
You know, I'm sorry, Billy, you're going to tell me what. I'm sorry.
The playscape area up in the back is not staying, no.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it was a long time ago, place. Yeah. As the drawing shows, a great majority of this property is in the back, is in the front yard, unfortunately, and because of the shape of it, there's not a lot of space in the back. And also, there's a major change in grade. So from the back of the house, on the terrace at the back of the house, there's a roughly level area down here, but it's 10 feet from here to the top. And there used to be some wooden steps in there, and they were old and they were rotted and they were dangerous, so we took them out. So at the moment, there are no steps to go from one level to the other. And it's too steep, really, to navigate without some steps, definitely. So the proposal is to level this portion of the lawn, which is, this is the back of the house, this is the terrace, to level that portion. And I think that will essentially provide some ground infiltration. At the moment, water runs, down the slope, down towards the front of the property. But I think just leveling that out alone should hopefully satisfy any of the infiltration of the stormwater down into the ground. I think our engineer, Peter Machete, was very thorough, was saying if needed, we could provide the additional stormwater drainage capacity, but I think it may well be that the Public Works Department feels that it isn't really actually necessary. The amount of increase in impervious surface is around 260 square feet, so it's like a quarter of the threshold which would normally generate that. So the request is really to put in just a 3-foot-high retaining wall along there, which will help with the grade, no doubt, and then put in some slab steps, which would go from left to right to left to right. We've done that many, many times on properties over the years. We plant them, it stabilizes the slope, and that really is the sort of the extent of it. It's really quite a small area because there unfortunately isn't a very large area of property at the back of the house there. So that's the gist of the application. If I've missed anything, Bill will always add it in.
I don't think it. I would just add, we propose to certainly add topsoil and seed to provide stabilization, landscape, and then planting the slope, as Keith mentioned. That's all I would add.
No, we see a lot of these. There's a lot of soccer players and lacrosse players in town. And they need spots places to play. Okay. Any questions? There you go. You have soccer coaches, lacrosse coaches over here. Amy?
Yeah, hold on. Come back to me.
Okay. So, there's no stormwater management, and the existing coverage on it, if I'm reading this right, is 6.5% is your lot coverage, when you're allowed 20%? I'm just looking at some survey.
Yeah, that's noted on the survey.
Lots of building coverage is 6.5%, it is existing 6.5, and the maximum required is 20. You're almost 3/4 of an acre of land. And you're doing a bunch of rocks and whatnot in the back. Okay, got it.
Can you clarify whether is the stormwater management being put in, or is it not being put in?
I think we were just putting it in, we were showing it, but I think we'd rather not put it in, quite frankly. Especially if it needs a whole lot of extra investigation, so I think it's gonna work very effectively without it.
You're adding a drain pipe in the middle, right?
The existing yard drain shown on your plan, both drain to the infiltrators shown on the engineering plan, so.
That's what's submitted.
Right, that's what's submitted, so, we'll need clarification on what specifically we're proposing to do here in terms of drainage.
So you're gonna add that after we close the hearing?
No, I guess that's the question for the commission. They've shown an engineering plan, which is the second sheet. Let's call it, it's called a site drainage plan, which shows an underground storm tech unit tied into some underground pipes in the back, correct?
Yes, that's right. And we're confident it'll work, I mean.
Right. And what,
it's well engineered.
Mr. Ostafine, the engineer for the town, reviewed it and said, I need more details before I can sign off and say, this will definitely work. Mr. Simpson's saying, look, we don't need this, we're not adding any new impervious surface. I can do nothing, if that's what you want me to do, or I can do this system, but I prefer not hiring an engineer to do a drainage report to prove to Mr. Ostafine that it will work.
Yep. but it's
So-
not in fact required.
So the question is, are we putting this system in or not? That's the question.
We prefer
Or
not
do-
to.
Or do we care?
So then why did you put it on the drainage site plan survey?
Because I think the engineer thought that it might possibly exceed the threshold.
Which engineer, your engineer?
Yes, correct, Marchetti, yeah. Yeah, our engineer thought that if you did want infiltration, he could provide it, yeah.
Because
And
it's a
he-
big
and I
It's up to
think
the
he-
commission to waive it, of course.
Right. And how many, it's, the pervious surface increase is like 300, 200, what'd you say?
It's a
200?
very small additional impervious surface, and I think it's gonna be perfectly adequate without it.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't think you need it, and it's a big expense to stick it in,
Yep.
It's up to the commission.
right?
And the flow is all toward Colony Road extension, right?
Right. It's gonna work better now than it had in the past, yeah,
It's gonna go down to their house.
without it, yeah.
It's gonna flow onto the wrong property,
Yep.
so.
It can be waived.
Well, the flow is shown to come around the sides of the house and flow towards Colony Road extension, like you noted, correct? Whereas whereas now the flow comes into the back of the existing residence, and from what we understand, impacts the basement.
It has in the past, correct, but I think that this new plan will, prevent that, intercept that.
But isn't the back of the house, you show it here, the back of the existing patio is at 124.7, and the back of the stone wall, way in the back, is 124.5.
Right. It's slightly back, right.
Right. So you're tweaking the grades a little bit. That is very flat
Right.
back there.
But because at the moment it pitches towards the house.
It pitches towards the house right now, no doubt
Correct,
about
we
it.
flattened it out so that it won't have the same effect before as flowing towards the basement of the house.
Right, you're cutting
Correct.
Cutting into it.
We're
cutting
cutting
that
it
yard in the back.
specifically for the purpose of intercepting the flow, and I think it'll achieve that.
So it's just gonna infiltrate into the ground.
Mhm.
Got a big soccer field right there.
That's where the ice hockey rink will go.
Right, plus way up on the top, you have existing line.
It's flat, but pitched slightly towards the retaining wall on the
Yep.
hillside.
Correct.
So the water will flow towards the retaining wall and then around and out.
That's correct.
So it doesn't flow towards the
Right.
basement of the house, right?
Correct.
I think really, quite honestly, why the engineer pursued the plan at all was when we came into town hall and met with staff. Not staff who are present today, but staff said, we really need to, look at the drainage and make sure the drainage would work and so on, and I think, we have done that.
Okay. I get it, I mean, it looks fine, if it floods their basement, it floods their house, they're gonna come back, 2 years from now. It's not gonna go,
That's their issue.
it's gotta go around the house on both sides and get to the road here, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a long way.
You want to make sure it doesn't go, that it goes down towards the road and not out towards the neighbors. And I think
So you
attention
were-
needs to be given to the grading.
Okay, so the side,
Correct?
Yes, that's right.
the elevation on the side, next to the Betty's house at 104 is 124, right, 126, and the lawn in the middle is, glasses, I can't see it.
124, 124.7 and 124.5, so it's lower than, the 126.
Pool in the backyard.
At the neighbor,
At 108 Colony
108
Road.
Colony Road.
Right, so it's lower than that.
We actually heard from the owner of 108 Colony Road who had some concerns or just wanted to make sure that there wouldn't be stormwater flows onto her property as a result of the regrading. We did have Mr. Ostafine take a close look at that, and he was in agreement that there would be no stormwater flows onto the property, and it in fact flows in a southerly direction around the side of the house to what we've already discussed, Old Colony Road extension.
Right, the side yard is wider than the entire house.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Does Colony Road or Old Colony Road extension have stormwater management on it?
Sewers?
There's a catch basin showed on the plan here. I don't know any details. Keith?
I don't know, it is on the,
We have two.
on the,
Looks like there's a number of them on
on
the
the
plan.
drainage plan.
But these are the square boxes?
Yes.
I believe so. Those guys.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else we're missing, guys?
Do they need to resubmit this without the drainage as part of the?
If we say it doesn't have to go into, if it's not required in the resolution, you don't have to resubmit. It's there, but, I mean, you can make them draw another plan without it.
I'm just curious if we need to
Yeah.
have them do it. It's fine with me.
Yeah. No.
When they submit for the building permit, we would have them submit revised
Got it.
plans.
Without, right, so we can close the hearing.
Yes.
Okay, great. With that said, I would entertain a
No,
motion
we
to
need
close.
the neighbors.
Oh, I'm sorry. Any neighbor like to speak to this application? Seeing none? Hidden, then I would entertain a motion to close. You're all square, right?
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Adam makes a motion, George makes a second, all in favor? Thank you.
Hearing closed. The commission will decide it in October.
Yes.
Thank you.
Fantastic. A fun soccer field.
Hockey.
Hockey? It's a hockey rink?
Think bigger.
Oh,
Soccer
yeah.
field.
Get
Hockey.
lights on it, that it's a hockey
Gotta get
rink.
some lights.
Lights.
Big enough?
Oh my God,
He's so noisy.
No PA system, just lights.
Oh, okay.
Mount the lights on the house.
Next item up for bid, the last one for this evening. Land Filling Regrading Application number 534, 185 Riverside Street LLC at 259 Middlesex Road. Proposal to construct a new 6-bedroom, single-family dwelling on a now vacant lot. Construction of a new driveway, terrace, and porch areas, and a pool, and from related site development activities, including the regrading of the property and installation of a stormwater management. The 1.06 plus or minus acre subject property is located along the north side of Middlesex Road, approximately 180 feet of its intersection with Libby Lane, and is shown on Assessor's map number 9 as lot 65 in the R1 zone. Is this a new subdivided lot?
Now, it used to be a house on this property. The house was torn down, more than a year ago, and this is a proposal to put a new house on that now vacant lot.
Okay. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, my name is Todd Ritchie. I'm a principal civil engineer with SLR Consulting, also a board-certified environmental engineer and registered professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, representing the applicant for 259 Middlesex Road. As Jeremy mentioned, the house that was previously on the property was torn down over a year ago. Currently, there's just a driveway that remains that's that's impervious, of course. It's an asphalt driveway, and we did some test pits out there for drainage, and the soils are favorable for subsurface infiltration of stormwater. The topography goes from the southwest corner of the property, flows to the northeast corner of the property. It's all kind of contained within the site, where you got stone wall along this edge that kind of creates a barrier to the property to the east. Then you have also runoff that comes from the property to the west. You have stormwater runoff that's contained on Middlesex Road, and then also is contained on the site and to the front. And then to the rear, you also have a tree line and topography that goes to the north. There will be no trees taken down on this project. There's also no site walls. There's walls associated with the patio to make terracing of the patio down to the pool level and off of the first floor elevation. There's no change in the path of stormwater. All the stormwater goes to the northeast corner now, and will continue to go there. We analyzed the site as a fresh.
Northeast corner has a stone wall on the.
Northeast corner has a stone wall right here, so the water does go directly to the north after that. And that's how, and that's the existing condition now, excuse me. So we analyzed the site as a fresh meadow, because it is currently, but also because we're required to. So we've satisfied Darren Ostafine as far as the rates of runoff from the site. Just wanted to kind of emphasize, was listening to a previous application. When you analyze it under the fresh meadow approach, you're not just actually keeping it in the same conditions as it exists. You're actually bringing it back to pre-development. So there's a further benefit. It reaches backwards even further. So in this case, that's what we're achieving. I know other projects achieve that as well when they do that same analysis. The curb cut will remain the same off of Middlesex. The driveway will extend pretty much in the same orientation as it was before, maybe flared out just a little differently with a little bit of parking in the front and a hammerhead off the garage. As I mentioned, there's a back walkway, terrace, and a lower terrace, and then a patio level around the pool. There's a front walkway that comes around to a covered porch. On the side to the east, there is the grading will extend around, and there will be a walk up from the basement. So there'll be a walk out, walk up stairs. There'll be a drain at the bottom of the stairs. It goes into a sump pump that ejects into the underground stormwater system. As I mentioned, the stormwater system is a Coltex type system. It's encapsulated in the fill because the restrictive layer is at, I believe, around 2 feet. So we do have to have separation, and that's the hard pan layer. And so we have 2 feet of soil for infiltration. And so the bottom of the system is essentially at existing grade to allow a pathway for the water to infiltrate and flow through the soil. So that will be leveled off, which somebody would want anyway for a yard, flat yard area. And the grades, as I mentioned, extend around the house and tie into like a terraced off sort of grassed lawn from the house down to this level. We do have drainage in the driveway, so we collect all the drainage from all impervious surfaces except for the patio around here. And they all go into a stormwater collection system with catch basin inlets, yard drains, and they wrap around the house in this direction and come down to a point of discharge here, but also off the back there's a couple that come out direct. We added the structure that Mr. Ostafine wanted, which was one more for the rear drainage to have a coarse particle separator with the 2-foot sump and the hooded outlet. So we provided that in the rear, even though, keep in mind, all of these have sumps, all the catch basins throughout the whole entire network, so it's not just one structure that captures all of the sediment. The existing utilities are water, municipal water and sewer up front. There's no septic. This tree, nice tree in the back, I think it's a 36-inch oak, is being preserved on this project. And that's kind of what we have. Sediment erosion controls, they're basically in all directions that flow could occur, which is to the north or possibly to the east, just making sure it doesn't like go through the wall or get pushed, get a surge through the wall during construction. But all the water that then overflows, this is the high overflow in the underground system. It's a grate, so once it does overflow, it just kind of goes down the grass slope into this area, just like a swale, and goes in the same halfway to the north. That's all I have. We do have, what I did see that we were kind of missing, that we can add as condition of approval, pool fencing. There is a generator, so we hadn't put on the propane tank. Yes. And pool equipment.
Now, the side yards, I didn't see again on here a survey with the setbacks and the height. Can you just go over the height of the house and then the side yard, we're doing the same thing that was on another application. How far are you from the property line on the west side? Is that the driveway there?
Yeah, we are over 30 feet, probably.
No, the edge
Oh,
of
this edge of driveway,
Yeah.
right here?
to the property line.
I think we're about 5 feet
Okay,
on that corner, like that.
right on that one corner there?
Yeah.
And then, was there a survey in the file on this one with the setbacks and the height and the existing conditions, all that stuff?
There should be.
I don't believe there is a survey showing.
Who did this, do you remember who did the survey?
The zoning bylaw.
We're gonna have to double check that. We checked the files today and could not find a survey, with the table showing the zoning compliance.
Is it
height,
uploaded?
Coverage.
Nothing exists. No
The
house.
proposed.
Oh, proposed.
The architect, would you like, you have to
Sure.
identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Brad DeMott, I'm the architect.
I'm sorry, you get your name.
Brad DeMott.
Thank you.
DEMOTTE.
Thank you.
Right. So no, I have zoning calculations, and they should have been, maybe they weren't on your site plan submitted, but they were on along with the architectural plans. And I do have a copy of those with me tonight, but we can surely upload them to the file.
Is that in the packet that we have?
These are the architectural plans dated May 27.
Yes, the architectural plans were included in your packets.
Right, so I'm looking at like A6.
second page.
SP, sheet SP-1, most likely.
If you can read it, you're
Yeah, you
doing
can't
well.
read it.
That's this, it says,
Yeah, it
that
doesn't
says
have all of
zoning
them.
table?
It says it's a zoning table, I can't really.
Yeah.
Well, I have a larger version here if you'd like.
Oh, there it
Can I-
is.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
So this is that,
Yes.
okay.
It's fully code compliant.
I'm sorry?
It's fully code compliant.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the big thing, I would double check the coverage and the height of the house.
Yeah, Brad, the only thing we'll have to check is the amount of finished basement space.
Oh, we went through that.
We did?
No, because when it got reviewed, that was one of your comments that we addressed. We had to go back and, because I didn't realize initially that none of the basement counted, and then that was picked up during a zoning review, and then we redesigned the basement to reduce that square footage down there.
Because 50% of the basement can't be finished, is that
Right.
what you're talking about?
And then that's now included in those, it should be in those calculations. Because that issue was already addressed.
So you're saying there's two sets of plans, the original plans and the revised plans?
Well, can I speak?
Well,
I think for clarity, when this originally was submitted, it was submitted for a building permit without the special
Great.
permit.
Okay.
So I think that's what it's referring to.
We'll check that at the staff level.
The height's on A6 too, 29, 6, 3/4, or 6 7/8.
Well, on the elevations, right, it's noted from.
Yeah.
From
Right,
average
yeah,
grade to
and the other plan we
midpoint
looked
roof.
at, it was 30 and the one with Bay.
Yep.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, the same, exactly, mid of the gable.
Is that on the left side?
Right side. It's this number right there. You can barely read it.
Okay.
29, 6 and 7/8.
Got it. It's high point of roof, got it, okay. Want to go first with questions, anything?
Yeah, I have a question for, I see in Darren's, letter that number 6, soil test holes results were not found and located on the plans, and that they're necessary to determine, seasonal or other high groundwater restriction. Just as a matter of knowledge in the area, they're not too far from this property, off of Libby and on Holly, there are some low-lying areas that tend to collect water, and there's some property owners down there that are experiencing some problems with water that does not drain. So, my question is, how important are those? I would like to see, do these deep hole tests specifically speak to whether this would exacerbate the abutting, they're not abutters, I think they're like one down.
Yeah, sure.
And you got this section of soggy properties down there.
Yeah, I can speak to the, I don't know, maybe it was misread, or I don't have the list in front of me, but the deep test holes were always on the plan. So they're actually listed right here, soil testing data right here, and they're located on the plan, and as well as the perk test. What wasn't on the plan was the perk test data, like log of the test. So we added that to the plan as he requested. But I can read off to you what the test holes are if you like.
Has he subsequently reviewed that and is okay with that? I guess it's the question
I don't know about subsequent review. It's always been on the plan, so that's something maybe he carried over as a comment from, because he was maybe busy and he's looking at a lot
That's
of
just
plans.
something I'd like to get clarification.
What's the date of that plan?
Mr. Ostafine has not reviewed the deep test hole results. The comments he noted on this were made on Friday, this past Friday.
Yeah.
Revised plans were submitted by Todd
But
on Monday, I believe.
If you look at the previous plan that was submitted, which is, I believe, the one that you're looking at right there, because it does not have the perk test, if that one is, the original was dated June 16th without a revision on it, that one has, the original submission has the deep test holes on it.
Okay.
So again, like I said, it could just be
So you're gonna leave that plan with us, which is a revised plan?
well, this plan was hand-delivered yesterday.
Yeah.
Yes.
The one we have is August 24th.
Right, and Todd's is dated yesterday.
Well, the original plan, let's see,
It was June 15th, you said 16th, right?
sorry. Our original plan that we submitted here was 8/24.
Right.
Not that. 8/24, and then we had a 9/26.
Right, so we don't have the 9/26, you do.
No, you do, we delivered it yesterday.
We do have a copy of the revised plan as part of the record.
Okay.
Yes.
So all I'm saying, just for clarification, the 8/24 plan had the deep test holes on it. The 9/26 plan still had the deep test holes on it and added the perk test. There just could have been
But nothing changed
Nothing
about the
changed.
plan.
No, nothing
You just
changed.
added the little key at the bottom.
Correct, we just added this right
Yeah.
here, this right here, and then what we did is we did the other changes. If you want me to just say what we did in response to Mr. Ostafan's comments was
Sure.
is that we added that structure in the back for the sump and, and the outlet control, and we added a detail on the second sheet for that structure in the back. And that was it, actually. And we, he had a comment about keeping a 10-foot separation between the water and sewer line.
And also, as part of comment number 6 by Mr. Ostafine, he does note that percolation test hole results was found, located on plans, and is favorable.
Yep,
So
yep, that's
that aspect is reviewed.
That's so good. Okay.
So to answer your question, the soils are favorable. The soils are favorable as long as you have enough soil beneath the system that is favorable soil, the percolating soil, which is 1 inch in 10 minutes, to allow the flow to go, the stormwater to go into the soil. So we're not trying to infiltrate into that soil that is certainly in lower lying areas of like Holly Lane.
Yeah.
I'm very familiar with Holly Lane from past projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get a boat in Holly Lane. The cul-de-sac system, that's just for the roof leaders and driveway?
Roof leaders, driveway, rear terraces, as much as we could pick up, fairly easily, it's a majority of the impervious area, but not 100% because around the pool,
Yeah.
it drains across the grass for a long distance, so.
Okay. Because that 46 unit cul-de looks pretty big. It's a really big house, but how many square feet is the house?
It's about 7,000.
Say it again?
It's about 7,000 square feet.
That's not this.
The zoning calcs I just gave you.
But, this says house and porch, 5,729. Area weighs 125 concrete pads, and that pool of 400. So is the house 5,729?
Do you want gross square footage or a
Yeah.
footprint? I have the footprint.
No, gross square footage.
Okay.
Well, this would include porches, so the 5729, so you'd have to back out the porch. In terms of,
Yeah, livable is what we wanted, or air conditioned.
Right.
And then would you go with these days? Air conditioned? Yeah, it's a big house, 6 bedrooms.
Big.
Could I just get a quick education? I hope you went through this actually, so I'm just asking you to repeat yourself. But the Caltech system, I don't quite understand how the bottom elevation is 108, which is the same as the grade there. What do you, I mean, there's obviously something above 108, right?
It's the same as the grade there, because what happens is you set at the bottom at the existing grade, and then you build off of that, even though it's sloping, and you'll put fill underneath it. You just don't want to be into the grade, because we need that existing depth of soil to go into.
Do you not cover it somehow?
Excuse me?
Do you cover it?
Oh, we do, because what happens is that we set it at the existing grade, and then the fill will come in all around it,
All around?
and
Okay.
on top of it.
Okay,
So-
then you'll have a new elevation.
Correct.
It'll be higher and it won't, it'll help with the.
Yeah, it also, I mean, it does flatten out the grade, so it slows runoff even from the pool area, so that it can infiltrate in this flat area before, it maybe even reaches from the backyard, that is.
Thanks. Okay,
Sure.
thank you.
So it's only 2 feet deep, pretty much?
Is it the system?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a 2-foot high unit, 24 inch.
so it goes from 108 to 110.
Yes.
Okay. Question, sorry guys.
Where do you anticipate burying the propane tank? I know you're gonna add it, but just
Yep.
for our reference.
Sure.
And where,
I would anticipate it being buried basically somewhere at the end of the driveway, obviously minimum 10 feet from the
with 10
property
in.
line. Just so a truck can pull in, and it's closest to the truck, plus the generator's right here, so.
and then the pool equipment is gonna be right there too?
Yeah, essentially, yeah.
Is
So
it-
probably off the back corner of the
Of
patio.
the pool? It's
You know,
not gonna
with
be covered or anything, it's just gonna be outside type?
Yeah, I think it will just be, skirted with a gate
Yeah.
or something like
Okay.
that. Or a fence, rather.
Fence.
No structure.
No structure. I assume heater too, right? You got the propane tank right there, the generator, you might as well throw in heater.
I would hope so.
So the concrete pad for the pool equipment's not on the plan,
Correct.
right?
Yeah.
When you put it, why don't you just throw that on the plan so it's there?
Yep.
Okay, Mike, you good?
I'm good.
George?
All good.
You good? Andy, you good? Would anybody in the audience like to speak to this application?
Yes.
Please, we've been waiting all night very patiently.
Okay.
Last but not least, just come to the
Thank
microphone,
you,
give
thank
us
you,
your
thank you.
name and address, that'd be great.
Sure. I'm Mary Louise Zarilli, Zarrilli, and I have lived at 265 Middlesex Road since 1975 when I bought the property. And it's a 1-acre zoning, which you all know. I'm directly to the east, so my property is over
Yeah,
here.
your name makes it. Are you related to the Capellis at all?
Yes, absolutely.
I thought so, I think she's related to me.
So in any case, my concern is there are, from Libby Lane, we're directly across the street from the Bird Sanctuary. So if everybody knows where that is, from the upper side of Libby Lane all the way down to Holly, there are no storm drains. And I happen to be the first driveway that starts to go down towards Holly, so I'm the middle house actually. And I get the runoff from the road all the way down and into my driveway to begin with. And my concern is that there was a 1,700 square foot home here with no basement, okay? And they're gonna put a 7,000 square foot home there, which is gonna displace a lot of soil and probably create a lot of water. I don't honestly know how these work, so I won't even speak to that, but I'm really concerned that since I am lower in my property level, I don't have wetlands per se. The next house over does. So the water that you're talking about, anyway, goes all the way back this way and right into Holly Lane where it floods. So it catches the back corner of my property as it goes. And I'm really concerned, being where I am, that I don't understand these slope lines. I don't understand how they work. I don't understand if we're talking about, are we going up 5 feet? Are we going up 8 feet? There's one on 305 Middlesex where there used to be an old telephone house there, I think, or electrical house, where they actually built a house up and then they put a retaining wall around it, and then they have the other property is lower. So I'm just really trying to figure out what are the plans for the water drainage that is now going to be there, and how do I prevent it from coming on my property? So if somebody can talk to that, it'd really be helpful.
I want to give you a 2-second answer or a 2-minute answer, and then other people fill in. The box you're talking about, the Caltech box.
Yep.
What the gentleman was telling us, it's a 2-foot deep box. It's basically a bathtub that's underground.
Okay, and so
So
all
that-
this water that is in here is gonna all flow to the bathtub?
No, all the water that comes off the house and comes out of the driveway drains goes into that bathtub.
Okay,
And then it goes from the bathtub and it infiltrates out into the ground around it. So that's kind of a holding tank,
okay.
right? And then when
So is
this,
there a holding tank under here then?
no.
So what happens to the water that goes here?
That, and to go to your next
You
question,
mean surface water? That's
Yeah,
not coming
just-
off the, not
exactly.
coming off the house,
Not the,
just
not the
regular.
PVC pipe water,
Yep,
but the rest of the water.
that's called sheet flow, right? So the numbers on here, where it says, one point it says 115, then it says 114, 113, 112,
Oh, yeah, I see
111.
now.
See those?
Mhm.
It's the mathematical difference, so 111 and 115, that's a 4-foot slope. So it goes from the corner of the house at
Oh, you're
116.
Yeah, maybe I can help just a
Yeah,
little bit.
you're gonna help, you're gonna help it.
If, say a drop of water,
I'm in the way.
if a drop of water lands here in the driveway, it's gonna go in this drain, go underground, and it's gonna go underground in the system, and it's gonna go into the ground. If a drop of water lands here, it's gonna go down, it's gonna come down here on the property still, and it's gonna go to where it goes now, which is to the north.
How do we know that?
Because that's the way that the surveyor picked up the topography, so they've measured all the elevations on the property. So these lines just are a connection of basically elevation dots along the property that are all the same. So basically what happens is you go from higher to lower based on those lines.
Right.
And you go, so people who are just more, experienced in looking at these can tell you that's the way water's gonna flow, because it has to flow that way because it's flowing from high to low.
Okay, so now, see where the condensers are? Show her where, if
Right
a
here?
drop of water, no, the other
Oh,
condenser
I'm
next
sorry,
to the chimney.
right here, yeah,
Yep.
if a drop of water lands here, next to the condensers,
At
it will go,
115.
yeah, we'll go down the slope, and it will go in this direction here.
Well, how do I know it's not gonna come over the stone, on my side of the stone wall?
Because these are existing grades, it's tying back into existing grades that are pushing the water in that direction.
So if I get a flood, you're telling me that this is not gonna overflow and spill onto my property? Is that what you're telling me?
So,
If this system underground overflows, it overflows here, it comes down here, and it goes to the north.
Todd, would you say it's accurate that some water will, the way it has historically run towards her property? And there will still be some water.
Yeah, there's chances not knowing exactly the construction, those old stone walls aren't uniformly constructed. So the natural, but this is from, not impervious runoff, this would be from, grass.
The grass.
So I won't get
Which
a
is-
pool in the middle of the winter that freezes over like ice. and
Correct, it
water.
would be, a majority of the site isn't like that now, it wasn't like that before.
Well,
shall
while
we
you're
say.
changing the site, so.
No, but I'm saying, even before, they didn't have a drainage system. on
No,
the
it
site.
didn't need one.
No, well, all I'm saying is impervious surface is on the site before, it flowed in the direction that all the water flows now.
Okay.
And we're basically taking out a majority of the site, taking that water out of the equation. We're not even, for any storm, you won't even see water come out of this system for a storm up to, like a 50-year storm.
And it's not gonna bubble up and bubble over into the yard?
No, ultimately, it's designed for a 50-year storm, and that's what we're required to by the town standards.
How many gallons is that underground, the whole Caltech system about? You can do the math.
I don't know the gallonage, but it's a lot of cubic feet, we'll put it that way.
I just don't wanna be a
So,
I don't want,
Hundreds of cubic feet.
I don't want you guys to be like up on a marshmallow and then have me be in the swamp around the
No.
sides.
No, that's
Yeah,
not
no,
the case
it's-
at all.
Now, you are bringing in truckloads of fill.
Correct.
So to make it clear, you're gonna see a lot of trucks coming
Yes.
onto this site, and,
There
And
will
how
be
high,
fill,
how much
correct.
high is, my question is, are we?
well, the house,
you're-
the house is gonna be 5 feet higher.
So it's gonna be the soil will be 5 feet
Higher
up
than it is now.
from the stone wall, so it'll almost be over.
Nope, near the stone wall's the same.
I mean, no, but I'm saying it will be higher than
The
the stone
area
wall.
of-
I only have a 3-foot stone wall.
The area in the middle of their property will be 5 feet higher than it is now. They're gonna bring in truck after truck after truck and create a fill platform and put the house on it.
And then they're gonna tell me that the water's not gonna run off onto my property.
The water will continue to run off towards your property. I will confirm that water will flow in the same direction it has flowed.
But it won't cross over onto my land.
I'm not gonna guarantee
If
that.
it already does, there's
It will
not.
continue to do so.
It will continue if it already does.
But it's designed not to get worse.
So what you're saying is where these trees are along here will be 5 foot higher than
No,
it is now?
not that part, the middle of the property.
Oh, the middle?
Correct.
The middle of the
Okay.
property will be higher.
Okay,
See in the middle of the
So
house?
picture the house, which is this dark area.
yep,
This is 5 feet higher, and then it will taper down to what it already is right there.
okay.
So the water that falls right near that stone wall,
Mhm.
whatever, they're not touching within 8 feet of the stone wall.
Okay,
On
So
that
whatever
side.
happens now is gonna happen in the future.
okay.
So if you go out tonight and it's raining and the water comes over the wall, it will come over the wall in
And
the
if it
future.
doesn't,
Then there might be some in the future. I will not guarantee
because
that
it
you won't see
doesn't,
some water.
no, it does not at this point. But this street, on top of everything else, it would just be a lot of extra water.
See in the middle of the plan where it says 118 in the center of the house? See the center of the house? It says 118. That's the elevation of the house.
And I just rephrase, I like your analogy where I rephrase it to be not an underground bathtub, because that implies it doesn't drain. But it's an underground pond that can drain into the soils. So instead of having water sitting on the surface, it's underground, it's encapsulated, you don't see it, it's not exposed, it doesn't
Okay.
sit there, and then it goes into the soil and drains away.
So this is the best system to prevent the most water from abutting my property?
Correct, to handle the most water from all of the proposed development in a manner that manages it, puts it into the ground, and limits its flow rate.
You can ask any questions you want.
Oh, no, I'm just
Yeah.
here to try to figure out,
Mhm.
if that's the best way to do, it's a pretty design, it's a nice house, I'm not complaining about any of that, please.
No.
I'm just
No,
trying to, our house is built in 1950. We haven't changed, we haven't sold it, we haven't built a bigger house, so it naturally has a lower grade on the property. It comes down from Middlesex Road like all the other ones used to,
Yep.
all the ranches that were along there. So I have one of those houses that already gets water from the road, and I just don't need any more water from next door adding to the water I already have.
This is designed to keep all the water on the site that's gonna be brought onto the property because of the new house. When you have a roof line that's that big on a 6-bedroom house, it collects a lot of water.
So hypothetically, if I sold that property that I'm on, an architect and an engineer could come along and say, okay, we're gonna build it up 5 feet and make it level with theirs and there.
Well, see, the house goes from 118 down to 111, 110.
But I'm saying something like that, Steve, would be permitted.
Correct. In the
Okay.
middle of the property.
The person you sold it to would be sitting here with us going through the same thing.
Okay, okay.
And just one recommendation, if you do get water from the roadway, you should maybe contact Public Works and maybe something can be done about your apron at the end of the driveway that's coming down your driveway and onto your property.
Okay. It's been 50 years. Okay, thank you, and thank you very much.
Sure.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Is there sumps in the basement?
Yes, there would be some pumps in the basement.
And they drain into the cold deck?
Yes.
So you
So the-
envision, you envision hitting water?
That's why I didn't see him on the plan. That's
I mean,
why.
we didn't hit water, but I mean, we do it, you have to. I mean, because you can't, on a site like this, you can't have a footing drain to daylight. And you have to have some sort of drainage system for the foundation, so.
Believe me, there's water there. Tons of water.
And there's no ledge that you gotta chip out or hammer out to get to the basement?
Not to my knowledge. Again, we didn't dig to the full depth of the basement, but we dug, you know, on the lower end of the site. And we did dig to,
I was gonna say, you did test pits.
Yeah.
they were somewhat shallow because we hit restrictions, so we didn't dig them very deep. We dug them about 4 feet or so, because we didn't have to go further than that.
So you might need to.
So we hit the hard pan.
I wonder if the previous house had a basement. You know?
Nah, it's a little dinky house.
Yeah.
Oh, I could say I worked on, I don't know if I want to say this. But I worked on 5 Holly Lane, and I worked on, I think, 305 Middlesex with both of those back in the day. And we didn't hit ledge in either of those, but they were both made big challenges. We were definitely.
The house on the other side of me has that.
I'm
same-
sorry, we can't pick you up from there.
There's definitely an area that, you know, there's concern at the time. There was other issues that came into play there. There was some natural log jams in the river and different things like that, was really impacting the flow and different things like that. But it's a low-lying area that everybody kind of has flat yards that they kind of all want to make the water go away, of course. It's just sometimes if you're not have enough elevation change, it just doesn't happen to your satisfaction, I guess.
Can I speak
Sure.
from here?
Sure,
Okay.
please.
No, I was just gonna say the house on the other side, I think it's 279 Middlesex Road, that was just sold shortly ago, right next to the other new house, the triple peak houses, I call them. They both have. That's what I call them too. They have a containment system similar to what you're talking about, and they actually had their trampoline over it. And then when we had the latest, go back a ways, rainfall that was so heavy, the water bubbled up underneath it, and they had to move their trampoline back towards the driveway because the water was so soggy and so brown, but they just couldn't do it. So there's definitely water under there. I mean, I have, seen it, I've seen it in my own yard and whatever, but.
Just make sure you contact Town Hall if during construction stuff happens.
Well, we don't have a storm drain. It's not like you're gonna put in a storm drain for the water that runs off from Middlesex Road, because
Right.
there's no houses across the street from me in the bird sanctuary. So,
Right.
you know.
But some things can be done, like if there's a specific point that's noticeable that if water is concentrating during construction and somehow breaching the wall or, you know, again, flowing naturally the way it does, but we can contain it somehow, then that's gonna be kind of like on a spot by spot. It's just gonna have to be kind of like, oh, there's maybe something happening there. But in general, this is, I represented the conditions as we see them based on the survey.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Just one for Jeremy. I don't think I've seen a house, quite a change in size of the house. I know this isn't on a septic, which would require a huge new septic system. Is there anything about the sewage line coming out when we're taking a 1,600 square foot house and replacing it with like a 7-bedroom or 6-bedroom and like 8-bath house, that like the size of the pipe or anything like that we have to worry about?
Public Works and the Sewer Commission would look at it if it were multiple houses.
Gotcha.
Or multiple units. So even though you went from what's probably a 1 or 2 bedroom to a 6-bedroom.
Right. Doesn't matter.
They'll
Same
look at the
exit line.
tie-in, they'll require them to get a permit, but.
Nothing crazy.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah, depending on the age, they may require them to video the line to make sure that it's in good shape.
Check it out.
And then they would have to match the pipe size with a new PVC line from the property line to the house. Happens.
From the property line to the house, because the town gets it from the sewer to the curb.
Correct.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? We're good? For me. Good. Anyone else want to speak in the audience? We're good? Okay. Ready to go? Entertain motion to close. Amy makes a motion, looking for a second. Mike makes a second. All's in favor? Thank you. All right. We will debate this next week.
Thank you.
I saw the last thing, I'm like, she's got to be related.
Really? Led you to Capone?
Capone, These guys can't present it now, phone law. Where's my minutes? These are the ones. There we go. Okay, that is the end of the public hearing. Now we're gonna go to the general meeting, time permitting. I say we pass on any public items, any closed for today. So we'll just do the approval of minutes. We have a set of minutes for us, September 19th. Executive session was at the beginning, then we went into the general meeting. A lot of it was discussion in the resolution for the lights at the high school, which is 12 pages, so we can't change any of that. What else do we
Opt
have?
out of ADUs.
We have a resolution for the municipal opt-out of for the ADUs. The director's report was really long. We did a bunch of approval of minutes, and then we did the Tokeneke Beach Drive deliberation. Questions, comments, typos, scrivener's errors in this one? No, okay. Entertain a motion to approve as submitted. George makes the motion, looking for a second. Adam makes the second, all's in favor? 5-0. Next on the agenda, any other business require 2/3 vote? Anything else? Nothing? Okay. Our next meeting is October 11th, which is 2 weeks from now, right? And then October 18th. I do want to put on one of the agendas the walkability of downtown plan that we worked on last year. Can we talk about that on next meeting?
October 11th.
Fantastic. Okay. With that said, entertain a motion to close. Mike makes a motion. Amy makes a second. All in favor? 10:15, we're all done.